Hello, hello, Pigeon here. We are going to do things a little bit differently this time. So first we are going to start with a little read through, and then afterwards we're going to do a discussion on what everything means, what Burger Panza's point of view is. But once I get into that, I'll start having to get more into the adult themes. So we are going to start off with our nice little PG kind of T for teen story, and then we'll work our way over to that. Alright, before we get into the new stuff, let us go over the old stuff. Let's do a small recap of Let That Sink In. It starts off with Burger Pants in this job interview. He completely bombs it, feels totally horrible about it, but what can you do? Azrael picks him up. They have an awkward car ride home. Burger Pants is thinking about the past and his relationship to Azrael as it stands. And when they get to Burger Pants' apartment, Azrael invites himself in, which is very strange, but also very unwelcome, because Burger Pants had just had this horrible day, or what he thought. Poor baby. He thought that was going to be the horrible part of his day. And he just wants to chill out and relax and unwind. But Azrael invites himself over, and it's not like he can say no to Azrael. So they hang out a little bit, things are extremely awkward. And Azrael has something really heavy on his mind, but Burger Pants isn't aware of this the whole time. So Azrael is trying to get feedback from Burger Pants, but Burger Pants, to Azrael, is pretty much ignoring him, which he's not really ignoring him, but it feels like he's ignoring him. So he decides to make himself be in a way that's hard to be ignored. And oh baby, he definitely makes himself very hard to be ignored after that point. It gets really crazy, a little bit messed up, and Azrael has the guts to spill the beans about some things that go way over Burger Pants' head, and Burger Pants doesn't even know the half of it. Burger Pants is just holding on. It's a wild ride, and Burger Pants is just holding on for dear life. And he really is holding on for dear life, because one of the things that Azrael is here to do today is to kill Burger Pants and take his soul, and leave this world. And Burger Pants has absolutely no clue what's going on. So Azrael is spouting all these otherworldly secrets, and Burger Pants has no clue what's happening. Azzy is just spilling all of his guts. Azrael is just going freaking bonkers. But Azrael, of course, remembers why he likes Burger Pants so much in this interaction with Burger Pants, and he decides, no, I'm gonna back off. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna make this guy hate me. And so they part ways. But Burger Pants, in his mind, screwed everything up with Azrael, so he feels really freaking guilty about it. And then the news gets dropped that Azrael decided to go to university, so that puts a flame under Burger Pants' butt. Like, what? Azrael's leaving? Azrael's leaving hometown? What? And he's leaving soon? No way! That's his childhood friend. That's the one guy that he really trusts and cares for. And all of a sudden he's leaving. So Burger Pants kind of has a change of heart about things, and really wants to spend more time with Azrael, especially before he goes away. He doesn't want Azrael to go away at all. So he gets Azrael to go to this convention with him. And while they're there, some misunderstandings lead to the situation where it seems like Burger Pants is willing to accept a relationship, and Azrael's absolutely delighted. He's all for it. Let's go, let's do this, we'll try this out, let's see how it goes. And of course, it goes pretty well. I mean, they don't actually do anything in this convention. They kind of dip their toes in the water, and Burger Pants is really kind of enjoying this, really kind of enjoying being a little bit closer to Azrael. And then it skips to like a month later, where they are just hanging off each other. They are so lovey-dovey and crazy newlywed energy. It's really sappy and really bad. And Burger Pants does not want to give up this lifestyle. Now that he's in a relationship with Azrael, he does not want to give that up. He wants to live the rest of his life just like he is now. And he's very bitter that Azrael is still going off to college, not knowing Azrael isn't going off to college. Azrael's leaving this world before responsibilities get thrust onto him that he didn't want, because something major is going to happen to this world.
and he can feel that, he can sense that, and he wants to get out of it before there's no turning back, because this isn't really Azrael's world. This is just the one that he's playing around in. This is the one that Chris is in, and this is the one where his Burger Pants is in. So this is the one that he's always felt comfortable in. But now that clock is ticking down, he's gotta go. And this whole thing, he's debating, should I take Burger Pants with me? Should I make it a surprise? Should I try to explain things to him? And the thing about Burger Pants is he doesn't really understand things very well. So every time that they take one step forward, they take 2 steps back. They're never really on the same page. Every time something is horribly going wrong for Burger Pants, it's just like the best time for Azrael. And every time that Burger Pants is absolutely elated, Azrael is just absolutely miserable. So Azrael tries. One night he decides that he is going to tell Burger Pants the truth. He's going to lay it all out there, tell Burger Pants absolutely everything that's going on. So they have this night, they're just walking around talking about all kinds of heavy shit, and Burger Pants is getting really frustrated because he thought that this night was one of the ones where they were going to get more intimate, and that just didn't happen. This completely ruined the mood. So whenever they go back to Burger Pants' house, he just kind of goes for it. But here's the thing, Burger Pants is really distracted by these thoughts, and he's kind of distracting Azrael with these thoughts. But Azrael sees how distracted Burger Pants is, so he's debating, okay, should I just spring this on him, get it over with, or should I just go with the flow? And Azrael goes back and forth in this one scene, deciding ultimately, no, Burger Pants deserves a lot more than this, just keep him in this world, it's not like it's going to be closed off forever, there's got to be workarounds, it might be difficult, but he can stay in this world, I'll go off on my own, it's okay to leave things as they are. And, dives into being lovey-dovey, kissy-kissy and all that. But then, Burger Pants' veneer falls out, and Burger Pants is absolutely distraught. But this, to Azrael, is a sign. Because no matter what, in this hometown, everybody's attacked him and bitten him and just completely made his life miserable, right? Nobody's intending to do this stuff. It just kind of happens. It's like coincidence after coincidence. Azrael is always having something horrible happen to him in hometown, and it's really because he doesn't fit in here. This isn't his world. So he has all these misfortunes happen to him, one after the other, and biting especially is something that keeps happening to him. So he's kind of got that, he's kind of got a little trauma about that, and that trauma kind of warps his mind a little bit. He's very into flat, blunt teeth, which is one of the things he confesses to Burger Pants that first night, that he really likes Burger Pants' teeth. And then, earlier that day, Burger Pants kind of tested the water biting him, but not really, just like a playful thing. And all of a sudden, when they're about to get a lot closer, Burger Pants' tooth falls out. This guy can't even bite him without his tooth falling out. So Azrael bursts out laughing. Like, this is too crazy to possibly be a coincidence. This guy is fated for him. This is his special person. There's no way that he can go without this guy. So we leave off on kind of a cliffhanger, where Burger Pants is thinking about what they're going to do next. And Azrael, too, is thinking about what they're going to do next. And I wanted to leave that up to the audience. And then this short happens. This is kind of a mistake, but I rolled with it. Why not? I'm still in AZPT mode, so might as well roll with the motivation while you still have it. So the canon to this short story is that, yes, that night Burger Pants lost a veneer, he got really distracted by Azrael, and Azrael just went for it. He just went ahead and did it. He took that soul. They tried to flee back to the other world, but there were all kinds of complications. One, Azrael didn't harvest the soul correctly, so then that's a whole thing in and of itself. But then also, Azrael's trying to flee. He can't flee. He has backlash from the thing that he's done, so it has to be balanced out. There is a clash with the angel, quote-unquote, the angel, and Chris has to get involved. Chris winds up saving his ass, and then Azrael tries to make it back to his world. Things don't go well there. He hasn't been there in a while. Things are vastly different. He already knew that, but also he has this conflict with Ember, and they have this knockdown drag out. It's like this crazy ass thing. Did I talk about Azrael getting injured? I don't know. Azrael was injured in the previous fight, so there's all kinds of problems there. Azrael has to take. So the Burger Pants of this timeline is not even in hometown, so Azrael has to go to another town and have this other conflict of getting that other Burger Pants so he could take the Burger Pants' soul that he had collected and host him in this new body. Oh my god, so much stuff happens, but I can't write that. I cannot write all that stuff. It's so much. It's so much. And once again, Chris has to save Azrael's ass. Chris is like the key to all of this. Chris is the one who always bails him out. And Chris is just fed up. They've had way too much. They're pretty much peace outing. You put yourself in this mess. You clean your own mess up. And it's not like Chris is unharmed in this either. Chris had gone through some things with the battle earlier. Oh my god. Anyway, let us get back to Burger Pants. Burger Pants kind of awakens in his new body. He has the memories of the old world. He doesn't have the memories of the new world because those aren't in his soul memory. So he's pretty much lost and confused, and he's at Azrael's place trying to figure out what the frick is going on. Azrael is completely injured and having a really hard time coming back. It's kind of like a coma situation. Burger Pants kind of goes off and explores the world and sees how weird things are, how different things are, and nobody's really the same. Then of course he has another run-in with Bluey. He absolutely gives up on that. He gives up on trying to find other people, and he just decides, you know what, this is good enough. I'm taking care of it at Azrael's place. We got food, we got TV, Azrael's there. Might as well make a vacation out of this. Whatever. That's what he wanted to do in his other world anyway. So, Burger Pants kind of comes to terms with all this. He's not really, that pissed off anymore. Even though, one of the things he is, still pissed off about is he really thought that him and Azrael were about to get intimate, and Azrael frickin' stole his soul, and that was not the thing that that's not the thing he consented to. So he's kind of pissed off at Azrael for that, but he's chilled out. And also, there's the whole thing about Azrael's injuries. Burger Pants feels very guilty about this, because, Burger Pants thinks that this is all his fault, right? He thinks that Azrael got these injuries because of himself, because they fled this world. So, that's another thing Burger Pants has to come to terms with. Azrael liked him so much that he brought him to this other world, and he killed this other Burger Pants so Burger Pants could have his same body. And Burger Pants is like, you could have chosen any other vessel, and you chose the same one? What's wrong with you? Also, oh my god, this guy likes me a lot more than I thought he did. And that kind of mellows him out as well, right? He's like super flattered. And now he kind of realizes just how much Azrael cares. Because before he thought Azrael was going off to college, right? And he thought Azrael was just leaving him, and this was their fling, and Burger Pants was a little bit bitter about it. But he realizes now, in hindsight, a lot more. And, yeah, he's willing to give this lifestyle a shot. He chills out, Azrael heals, Azrael and him have this big long discussion, and both parties are feeling really guilty. Azrael feels really guilty and thinks that Burger Pants hates him. Burger Pants is afraid to get closer to Azrael because of his injuries. Azrael doesn't understand this. Azrael thinks that Burger Pants is, justifiably hurt by what Azrael has done, and is scared of Azrael now because Azrael had done this horrible thing to him. So Azrael's backing off, and Burger Pants is too afraid to move forward because, again, this boss monster who heals for everything is critically wounded. He has this huge gash in his shoulder. Like, it's not healing. It's very abnormal. Something seriously bad happened to Azrael. So he's not going to test the waters with anything. He is going to be very gentle, hands-off with Azrael as much as he can. Of course, as much as he can. Burger Pants is a very physically charged person. And once they start getting into the whole Azrael feels guilt and Burger Pants trying to talk him out of that, they go back to their kissing and holding hands and showing little signs of affection for each other. But of course, again, Burger Pants is really a physical person, so it gets a little out of hand, but not too out of hand. Not too out of hand. He is waiting for Azrael to heal, pretty much. But that's not going to happen. This is a permanent injury. Anyway, anything else I need to set up before I go into the story? No, I think that covered it.
Let's get into iwantchild.mp3. What stood before him was a distorted, melting blob of a man. Those beady, lifeless, cold eyes looked back at him as if searching for any value. But it was, of course, in vain. There was nothing but disgusting filth here. A jutting jaw with two ever-present fangs that always stuck out like sore thumbs would disrupt the harmony of any face. The flaccid ears that drooped loosely at the sides made his head look twice as wide, like the world's ugliest bobblehead had come to life. Such a horrid sight to behold was only accented by those large, sunken-in nostrils that resembled those of a battered goblin who had just crawled its way up from the depths of hell. That's right, his abnormal looks were almost serpentine, as if to reflect his cruel heart. The bitterness he felt almost made him want to stick out his tongue, but that would only add to the snake imagery, as if he was merely tasting the air, readying himself for his next victim. He sharply blew a fog against the glass before him to get rid of that hideous face. Azrael was always afraid of mirrors because they always reflected the cold, hard truth. The inescapable ugliness that would follow him around forever. And wasn't it funny that, as fearful as he was, this was where he spent a good chunk of his time, staring back at that wretched figure as if looks could really kill. He kept on staring. He would do anything to fix this broken shell of a person he had become. He was a lost cause. But what hurt the most was that nobody seemed to understand it. Of course he looked better in photographs. The camera was far away, the lighting was set, and there were others around that could steal the focus. The real him, though, it was brutal to look at. Like staring into carnage. It churned his stomach. However, the more he tried to explain his feelings to others, the more hopeless he became. Good-intentioned people would always force-feed him venomous lies, falsehoods about his appearance, as if that would make him feel any better. He clearly saw what was shown before him day after day. He already knew the harsh reality and was willing to accept it. Why could nobody else see? Or perhaps they were intentionally lying to him to make him feel better. But the more people told him how handsome he was, the more he wished he could shove their positive affirmations up their asses. It irritated him to no end. As far as the ill-intentioned people went, they too never told him the truth. Never gave him the validation he was looking for. They would simply scold him as if he was fishing for compliments. Compliments were the most hurtful words of all. They were blatantly bold-faced lies. Or rather, that was the case for a good half of them. The world was full of naive morons. Aside from the liars, the other half somehow actually believed such a melting pot of undesirable features could be attractive. These tasteless idiots were blinded by their own idolism. Anyone who could stand to look at him was a thoughtless heathen who would readily settle for any dish before them, as long as they were given a good sales pitch beforehand. Azrael brought his finger forth and drew new features on the frosted slate before him. However, as his finger slid along, it revealed the reflective surface underneath, and with it, the thing he desired to see the least. Though, thanks to this action, he could make out the vague shape of his lover, who, in the time of his distraction, had gotten out of bed and shambled his way over. Azrael quickly patted down his frizzled-out fur and waited for his partner to make the first move.
Listen, buddy, no offense, but I think the two of you spent more than enough time together. I've been waiting for my man to come back to bed with me for a while now. You're ruining the mood.
Burger Pants playfully jabbed at the mirror. And without a second more, he wrapped his arms around Azzy's waist and rested his chin on his shoulder, taking full advantage of Az's hunched-over posture. A smile broke out onto Azriel's face, but he opted to look over to the side. He couldn't dare look at the reflection, even to see his partner's face, in fear of seeing what that smile would look like. He didn't have too much time to think about it, though, as Emmett's fingertips roughly caressed his stomach. Did you forget? We already have plans for today. It's best you keep your hands where I can see them. As if he wasn't paying attention, his partner buried his nose in his neck and began drunkenly huffing in his scent, as if eagerly lapping up water after a long run. This fellow's obsession with smells was something Azriel could never understand. In fact, it was beginning to make him feel self-conscious. He must stink. Even though they were going to the beach, he should probably take a shower before going after all.
I know, Azzy, I know. However, something important just came up, and I formulated a couple plans of my own I'd like you to help me out with. It won't take up much time.
His partner's scruffy looks and bizarre mannerisms strangely stirred Azriel up. So much so that for a brief moment he almost lost his reason. That persistent frivolousness of Burger Pants's was a charm that made him irresistibly adorable. As tempting as that sounds, I'm going to have to refuse. I already told Ember and her sister that I would pick them up, and we would go together. I can't disappoint them now, can I?
What about me? You got no problems disappointing me, huh?
Have some patience. Have I ever neglected you, you grown-ass child? Azriel gave him a coy peck on the lips. Worked like a charm, as always. No matter what, Burger Pants was stunned whenever Azriel made the first move, as if it always took him off guard. This was a powerful move Azriel knew he shouldn't abuse too often, but it was convenient for delicate situations like now. It didn't take much effort from his partner to completely throw him off course. And since they already made plans, he would like to keep them. Azriel used that couple-second window to break free, separating them a bit. We're going to be leaving soon, so it's best you use this time to get ready.
What's the rush? All I gotta do is throw in my trunks and grab a towel, and I'm good to go.
It's true. This fellow was the type that was always raring to go, no matter where, when, or how. It should have been one of his more annoying qualities, but it set Azriel's worrisome heart at ease. What he needed most in a partner was someone who didn't break but could bend. Someone with a near freakish amount of flexibility. And on that point, Burger Pants was more than capable. The devilish smirk that formed on Azriel's face caused his eyes to squint in glee, and took Burger Pants off guard yet again.
Okay, I'll be good and go get ready. You don't gotta tell me twice.
He really was an idiot. If he had been just a bit more pushy, Azriel gladly would have given in to his demands. He sighed and turned on the shower. Whenever that guy was by Azriel's side, he passed along a strange sort of influence, opening his eyes as if it was for the first time, so that Azriel could see the world with colors he never knew existed, find the qualities he had been desperately searching for, and overlooked time and time again. Not only did that imbecile make him see the beauty in the world, he somehow also managed to work miracles and forced Azriel to see a strange sort of beauty in himself as well. It's not like he really had a choice. That shameless asshole was constantly flattering him. Dreadfully so. Grinded him down with such sappy sentiments that he was smashed down into a paste, perfectly pliant in that person's paw. The worst part was that Burger Pants wasn't even aware of what he was doing. It was those thoughtless cares and those careless thoughts that were always the instances in which the arrow never missed its mark. How he managed it, even Azriel didn't know. And that was the most astounding thing of all. The fact that everything was going so well was exactly why Azriel was so nervous these days. Burger Pants never made any real complaints since they moved here,
He never complained about how shitty this world was or how different his life had become. Not just words, either. Azriel could read what his partner was thinking. Often, vivid pictures would flash through his mind like a slide projector. On occasion, a voice would whisper narration as if it was an old black and white movie. These days, though, there was not a single worrying thought in his noggin, which, frankly, had given Azriel nothing to go on. The most reaction he'd gotten from the guy yet was when Burger Pants found the pendant he'd made with that false tooth. Who in the world would have imagined that his partner would be so mortified? It wasn't like he needed such a thing with his current body. It was simply a memento that Azriel kept from the last world, the key item that made him realize that Burger Pants was tailor-made just for himself. However, given how that guy flailed around and shouted, desperately trying to claw it back, you would have thought he stumbled upon some dirty secret hidden deep inside his soul. He wasn't even that distressed when Azriel actually stole his soul. And exactly because of that fact, the more Burger Pants didn't complain, the more stress-inducing it became for Azriel, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Such a happy lifestyle shouldn't be possible for a sinner like himself. He knew it all along. Such peace would never last. This small slice of heaven was simply a ramp-up to the deciding factor that would take it all away. Everything and everyone he loved. And that's just what he deserved. Nobody should have ever trusted in his love in the first place. It was a slow-acting venom that would slowly rot its victim from the inside. He didn't deserve to have people who loved him either. He did nothing but hurt those he'd gotten close to. And likewise, they'd all hurt him. This was his divine punishment in this purgatory of a life. The thing he most desired, of course, would be the most unattainable. No matter. Even if this was a punishment, he intended to take full advantage of it. In order to hit rock bottom, you would first have to reach a high point in the first place. And he was going to ride those highs for as far as they would take him. What was the fun in a roller coaster that didn't take a deep plunge, after all? The higher you go, the harder you fall. He would soar as close to the sun as his wings would allow, and pray that when he went crashing down, it would take him in one fell swoop. Living like this was actually quite satisfactory. Azriel had grown to cherish the simple everyday things like they were precious treasures. It was funny that their escape to the old world had really been like them eloping. The two living in this dingy little hellscape like two frisky teenagers at a sleepover. At least, it had worked its way up to this point. When Azriel had finally managed to meet back up with his partner, Burger Pants had already gotten well acquainted to this place and his new body. However, no matter what, his lover would always volunteer to take the couch to sleep. He would never dare set foot in Az's bedroom, which made him quite sad, like there was a line drawn in the sand. Azriel fully expected him to be hostile and sulky, and even though he couldn't stomach having his partner feel such a way, he gave him enough time to readjust. He waited for Burger Pants to express his dissatisfaction, but no such thing came. Instead, it was Azriel who started changing his habits, spending more time in the front room during the daytime. Because it was so abysmal outside, the pair spent their time mostly dwelling inside Azriel's place, catching up on anime and messing around. Burger Pants would not be denied any reasonable thing he could ask for, but Azriel carved one rule in stone. Burger Pants would be allowed up to 3 small gestures of intimacy in the front room. After that, they would have to move into the bedroom to continue. It was quite petty, Azriel knew that it was, but somehow it rubbed him the wrong way that Burger Pants didn't want to sleep in the same bed as him, at least not at this critical point in their relationship. Until his partner was comfortable with at least that much, he wasn't quite sure where they stood. However, Burger Pants was always very slow when it came to issues like these. Time and time again, he would just go for it without a care in the world. And every time, it got harder and harder for Azriel to put his foot down. Being caught by him was like being sucked dry by a mosquito. His partner barely made a move, but that itch practically drove him crazy. It was quite endearing to see how devoted his partner was to him. However, if he always let him have his way, there really would be no boundaries. He had to tough it out, wait until that fool figured out that he should follow him back to the bed. It was just last week when they were still stuck in their cycle of agonizing flirting when Burger Pants once again raced to surpass his allotted amount of kisses. Not knowing how else to distract himself, Azriel broke free and feigned a laugh, saying that the intent seeing all the things stewing in his partner's mind. Things he knew this guy would never be brave enough to actually attempt. Right when Azriel finally let his will slip a little bit, he made the decision to give him the go-ahead by placing his hand on top of his partner's. But that just prompted the guy to stare more intently at the show, as if he was the one intent on them staying chaste. Burger Pants was no fan of silence, however, and attempted to make a feeble attempt at conversation, making some comment about how most long-running shows would have an obligatory beach episode. Just like this one had as well. Made to sound like a complaint, but the further he went on, the more pictures of himself in Burger Pants would flash through his head, them doing this and that carelessly in the sand. That moron was all fantasy. None of the harsh realities were taken into consideration. Had Burger Pants ever been to the beach? Had the sweltering sun bear down on him? The stink of the ocean? The sting of jellyfish and broken glass underfoot? And the sand that gets so lodged in your fur you can't shake it out for weeks? The sand between your toes alone was enough to drive you mad, feeling it days later. It inevitably stayed there, no matter how thoroughly you cleaned. And this asshole wanted to wallow around in the stuff carelessly like it was something romantic. Azriel was half tempted to pop that bubble of his, let him feel the grating of sand firsthand. But the more he thought about it, the more it seemed like a good idea. They hadn't gone outside much, so Burger Pants must have been itching to get away, if for nothing else than to have a taste of freedom again. Plus, it wouldn't be all bad. The air truly was too stifling here. Thinking about it more, an anime beach episode usually entailed a bunch of friends gathering around to play volleyball, build sandcastles, and whack open a watermelon. Like a precious family memory, only with people who actually wanted to stick around. A family, huh? Burger Pants always had the idea in his head, a big family. He had to be a lonely person before all this, and most definitely had to be one now. Why didn't his partner express any of this to him? Was it because he didn't trust him enough to complain? It was especially frightening that Burger Pants didn't want to contact a single person since he'd begun living here. Not his family, not his co-workers, no high school buddies. Such a life trapped in a box couldn't be good. And that guy wouldn't dare take a step outside his comfort zone if he wasn't taken by the hand. If he wouldn't make friends on his own, Azzy'd have to assist him with this too. Just like old times. Azriel snuck off to his room and called his childhood friend up to chat. After discussing it for a while, they seemed to be in a similar situation yet again. Her younger sister had gotten out of the hospital a couple months ago, and was having a hard time readjusting to school. Azriel sighed. He knew the frustration. There was only so much you could do for a loved one that wouldn't accept care. In order to help someone out, they had to first accept that help. Had to accept the hand offered to them before they could be led to shelter. Well, that at least settled the matter. Azriel made plans to meet and took Burger Pants out to find the perfect beach attire. And after a day of trying on bathing suit after bathing suit, his partner absent-mindedly followed him straight to bed that night. Having such a simple-minded creature for a lover really was very satisfying. He could make no complaints whatsoever. When Azriel got out of the shower, he noticed Burger Pants standing at his previous spot in the mirror, looking over his bathing suit. A flash of Velcro, buttons, drawstrings, mesh lining flew through his head. This fellow really was worried that his swim trunks might fall down. Azriel let out a giggle, which notified his partner of his presence. His eyes grew wide at the sight of Azriel's shamelessly bare body, and he blatantly obviously stared for a couple seconds before nervously looking away. What, that idiot seriously hadn't been peeking in on him this whole time? He really was obediently getting dressed and ready for their beach trip? Also, what was there to be so flustered about? If it was just looking, he'd seen it many times already. Nothing was left to the imagination. So why did he have such an innocent reaction? The image of Burger Pants tracing the wound on his shoulder. Was that it? That's what had been on his mind? His partner was worried about him? Azriel continued to dry himself off the best he could with the plush oversized towel in his hands, and made his way over to that guy. I don't think you have to worry. There isn't a misfortune great enough that would be able to loosen such a secure grip. You'll be fine.
As if to demonstrate the point, Azriel tugged at the hemline, which caused Burger Pants' flustered face to lock eyes with his.
I see. He definitely wants some great misfortune to sweep through and tear these pants off his body.
While Azriel wasn't a charity worker, and he couldn't perform miracles.
But if it was a disaster his partner wanted, well, those happen to be his specialty.
Azriel chuckled menacingly as his smile grew wide. Playing with fire wasn't scary at all. It was rather fun. Forget the fear of being burned. If you know how to control it, there is no chance at all of being singed. Just as he feared, they really were late, and not even by a small amount. The humiliation building up on Azriel's cheeks burned him alive as he casually gave an excuse to the slighted party. In the middle of his apologies, another flash ran through his head uninvited. It was one of him, zeroing in on his jacket and shirt. What? Did Burger Pants expect him to be as careless as he was and only wear swim trunks to the beach? Wanted him to parade around shirtless and distract him even further? Azriel looked back at him and smiled. This idiot would soon learn an unforgettable lesson about fantasy versus reality. May the sun bear down on your half-naked body. May the sand creep its way into every single crevice and resurface every couple days just to torment you. Then you'll learn why I do things my own way.
Hey, I remember you. It's Piss Boy. I haven't seen you since grade school.
Ember cried enthusiastically, completely forgetting about her frustrations just seconds ago.
Haha, yeah, I guess that would be me. You remember that, huh? Didn't forget about it after all these years. You must have been in my class after all, right? Well, it's, great and all to know I have an admirer who could recognize me on sight. But, my friends all call me Pizza Pants now. Don't be so modest, little D. You have quite the catalog of nicknames to choose from. You should branch out a little.
Azriel chimed in, fully tuning into his channel in order to catch an earful. It was way too easy to ruffle his feathers.
Well, that one can't be repeated. Only my lover gets to call me that one.
Oh my, complacency really does breed contempt, as make things easier in the long run. It's not like Az intended to hide this fact, but he would rather it have been put more delicately in front of Noelle. She was still young and impressionable at her age, after all. Azriel took the chance to greet her as well, but she simply stood stubbornly behind her sister for cover. She and Chris were very much alike.
So only those with hands-on experience can make the size judgment call. Roger that.
Ember quipped with a rather haughty smirk, completely grinding Burger Pants' gears. Oh, how Azriel had missed her energy. Maybe this was a better idea than he initially thought. Having these two meet up would possibly save him a headache in the future. Perhaps they could all get along. Pizza Pants, you remember my neighbor's Des and Noelle, correct? Azriel hinted, trying to gently guide him into not saying too much. But before he could think of how to direct this conversation smoothly, he was pelted with a torrent of his partner's intrusive thoughts. Not only had Burger Pants not remembered her, he hadn't even noticed Noelle was there, and was now contemplating the Punnett squares of mixed couples. Did he not know that Noelle was the mayor's daughter? Or that December was Rudy's? Oh, eye contact. That couldn't be good. Burger Pants was staring at him with accusatory eyes. Come now, it's far too risky to form snap judgments about people you are specifically introduced to. She's my childhood friend, Azriel reassured. The one who went missing from our world.
Yeah, up until Azzy just disappeared for nearly a decade. We have some catching up to do before we roll out the childhood friend carpet, I'd say. What about you, Pizza Boy? What brings you back in town? Here for the lovely view.
Azriel let out a small, genuine laugh. The sights around here were definitely something one would have to get used to. This world and himself were on excellent terms. That's the secret to why it was so miserable.
I pretty much just go where Az takes me, since he's got a car and all. His partner trailed off, as if he had a sudden change of heart. He opened the passenger side door for December and made a dramatic gesture to usher her inside, as if he was doing her a favor instead of just being a nuisance. Might as well go with the flow. Azriel copied his actions and held open the driver's side back seat door for Noelle. It's amazing, honestly. He doesn't even need to understand it. He simply respects my thoughts on the matter and follows wherever I lead him. Azriel quipped in a low voice, purposely looking over at his partner, who in fact grew so flustered that he hastily tried to get in the back seat to avoid his gaze, but only managed to break off a part of the handle. It really was too much fun messing with him. With that, Azriel climbed into the driver's seat. So the notorious Azriel Dreamer is back in town, and his first order of business is to take over his mom's crusty old SUV. Azzy, if I'd known you'd have car trouble, I would have insisted on driving us instead. I'll have you know, I bought my mom a new car and offered to trade for this one. I could tell that having a vehicle like this one wasn't suitable for her current lifestyle. She was just holding on to old memories and knew it would be safe in my hands. How dreamer-like, clinging onto the past. Good to know you inherited it too. So you really didn't forget about us here, eh? I never once forgot. I'm sure you could understand that some matters require more attention than others. And with that awkward discussion out of the way, silence filled the air. They were more similar than Azriel wanted to admit. December's reasons for staying here, and his reasons for staying in that other world, were both initially fueled by the interest to protect their siblings. But while Ember stayed steadfast in her choice, somewhere along the way, Az made a vacation out of his, which meant this hometown was left without a true guardian, placing a burden on her. But regardless of Azriel's involvement, she would have done whatever she needed to in order to protect the Noelle of this world, the one that truly needed her presence in her life. So he took advantage of her kindness a little. Regardless, he would still consider Ember one of his closest friends. He entrusted her to look after this place, and she had obviously proven herself very trustworthy. Perhaps she'd come to the same conclusion as him long ago. Despite the selfishness of their own goals, angels really should stick together in order to survive. You know, I never thought I'd say this, but this vehicle looks so roomy. It could definitely fit another passenger on board. Do you think little Buddy would have an interest in coming along with us today? The last time I saw them was in, well, you know, I think making amends is the right thing to do. You can't just ignore him now after so long, right? What do you think, Azzy? It was exceedingly difficult for Azriel to juggle his own thoughts with those of everyone else, but especially those burdensome thoughts from his lover. He was distracted for only a moment, and Burger Pants fully took that opportunity to make things awkward and run with it. It seemed like they needed to have another good long talk about this world again as soon as they got home. You mean Chris? Noelle spoke out nervously, as if the words were being wrung dry from her unwilling lips. Both December and Azriel made similar noises to interject, but Az was one step quicker to the punch. Pizza Pants is a bit into the occult, a very suspicious sort of fellow. He can apparently see apparitions of those long past, but perhaps you shouldn't take such things to heart. Azriel was yet again bombarded with an explosion of painful memories and hurtful sentiments. Perhaps he was the one with the occult senses. To him, those words he didn't want to remember were like ghosts that haunted his soul. Their outline might not be clear at all times, but they were ever present and cruel. There was no way of escaping them, once it latched on. You asshole! After everything that you and me and Chris have been through, you still dare to pretend that nothing happened? If it hadn't been for them saving your ass yet again, you would have been... Pizza Pants, please. We can have this discussion later, alright? We'll talk it over later, I promise. Let's just focus on having a nice time for now, okay? Azriel soothed, hoping that his partner could sense his distress and just drop the subject. You can see Chris? How are they?
Noelle boldly questioned, now convinced that Burger Pants was telling the truth.
Huh? Yeah. Same as usual, I think. Last time I saw them, they seemed to be doing alright for themselves.
Then what about my dad? How is he? Without any warning, a rather compromising picture of Azriel's father flashed through his head.
He wanted to scream out, but it would only be in vain. It's not like Burger Pants knew what he was doing. It's not like he fully comprehended what he was doing to Azzy. But still, knowing how vividly detailed his lover's thoughts were was most definitely a curse at times. It was hard not to be shaken. Mr. Holiday is, doing well for himself, I would say. But I still think he's happiest whenever you visit him in the hospital, kiddo. So whenever you get the chance...
Before he could say another word, both December and Azriel shouted at him. Honestly, he was half tempted to pull over at the side of the road and have their little discussion post-haste. This kind of thing was highly inappropriate, and if it went on any further, he knew Ember would demand his head on a plate. And just like that, Noelle burst out into screaming sobs and clung to Burger Pants for support. Too far. He had really gone too far. Thank you so much. I always felt his presence there in those long nights at the hospital. I thought it was just a dream, that he couldn't possibly be there, that he couldn't possibly still be thinking of me. This, knowing that I wasn't dreaming after all, having confirmation that it was real.
Ah, Jesus. Okay.
As she continued to bawl into his shoulder, Burger Pants patted her back, coming to the realization of the reality of this world. That's right, you jerk. Her father was dead in this timeline. Didn't I already warn you that things were vastly different in this world? Azriel huffed to himself. It was a shame that his and his partner's soul couldn't entangle like his and Chris's had. It would be all too convenient to be able to communicate directly through his soul. Sometimes, it's okay to believe in strange things. I think our hearts can sense something that our minds don't. That's why it's important to have faith and believe in those most important to you, Burger Pants said with a self-contented air, as if his bullshit concisely summed up the whole world with just a simple sentence. Even though Azriel wasn't too impressed, Noelle seemed to calm down, and with her sister being reassured, Ember was gracious enough to let the faux pas from earlier slip by. The situation was hanging on by a thread, but it seemed to be mended for now. With that, Azriel could take a sigh of relief. After the whole episode on the ride there, Noelle seemed to open up a lot more in front of Burger Pants, and thankfully, his partner was more than happy to indulge her.
They both stupidly ran off, chasing crabs running back to the shoreline, and scoured the area for especially pretty seashells. While Azriel intended for his partner to make a friend, he was thinking more along the lines of Ember here. But beggars couldn't be choosers. At least that guy seemed to be genuinely having fun. Azriel and December sat a little ways off under the shade of an umbrella. It seemed like both of them were world-weary enough to have some good sense about the trip. So, you've got to tell me, what's the deal with you coming back with the weirdo who ran off to the city back when we were kids?
Ember questioned with a gossipy tone of voice. Honestly, it was a more than welcome topic of conversation. He's also a displaced soul. Back in his world, I found a strange, almost masochistic pleasure in telling him things I knew I'd be sorry later for having said. Regardless of everything, he stood by me quite devotedly. Why, I will never know. I'm still waiting for the consequences of my actions to bite me in the ass. Even so, I cannot stop myself, but blindingly chasing my whims hasn't led me astray so far. Why should I stop now?
You seriously dragged him over here? Yeah, I suppose your word is law, after all. You should have no problem bending the rules. Maybe it's that you make laws for everyone but yourself. You never were the kind to play fair, but I'm sure you know how cheats and liars often are.
I haven't forgotten that I owe you considerable compensation.
I'll bestow any blessing in my power to grant. Think about it carefully. In the meantime, how have you been? How are things faring over here?
There is a great deal of corruption in this world. I suppose you're alluding to that?
You don't have to worry. I've made my decision to settle down in this world for the foreseeable future. I won't be running off again, if I can help it. As long as I have that idiot by my side, I don't think I really need anything more.
She hummed in amusement. So you're taking back your old role, and all it took was you picking up some alley cat off the streets? There's more to this story than you're letting on, isn't there?
Azriel smiled back at her. I'm almost afraid to say it. I think I might actually be happy. She giggled and smacked him on the shoulder.
I can tell you're dying to tell me all the juicy details, so why are you holding out on me? Spill it. How did you meet? Just what in the world went on over there?
It's nothing particularly different from this one. I'm not even sure when it happened. I noticed him, he noticed me, we got along. And before I knew it, I couldn't stop myself. I think we do fit in nicely together. We make a delightful contrast. Foolish crook and a crooked fool. Wherever he is, I feel a certain peace of mind.
As if fate was trying to embarrass him,
Burger Pants immediately fell down and face-planted into the sand, causing Noelle to panic and struggle to help him up.
I have a feeling you're the only peace of mind between you two.
If only you could read his thoughts. Azriel giggled to himself, pretending not to notice that questioning look on Ember's face. Even so, he is a mystery to me. No, it's even more than that. He is a mood. And the thing about moods is that they always change at the drop of a hat. He feels that regret isn't a luxury he can afford. That the only way to stave off a temptation is to give in to it. He feeds into my every fiendish whim, every selfish desire. Whenever I think of doing something exceedingly foolish, he is of considerable use to me. He is so sincere, so simple-minded. His very nature is truly beautiful. It doesn't hurt that the curve of his ass looks exceptionally enticing, of course.
Man, this is why I envy the losers of the world. When you've never had a victory in life, you never know the bitter taste of defeat.
Are you saying him scoring me isn't a victory in and of itself?
What? Of course it isn't. It's a curse. You guys are a match made in hell.
Azriel let out a hearty laugh and sighed. You truly are one of the only real friends I have. I'm so glad you can see things my way. That guy, against all odds, he had struck some chord. No, he scratched some itch that had never been satisfied before. And now that I've felt that brief relief from his unwitting actions, my nerves have lit aflame with the yearning for him to do it again. My heart throbbing, my soul vibrating, as if it would help stave off my impulses. He touches me in a way that should not be possible. All I can do about it is allow him to touch me in ways that are. It's so easy to explain why I like him, but I can't for the life of me figure out why he continues to allow me to string him along like this. Why does he indulge me so much? I am nothing but bad qualities all mashed together. I never fail to disappoint.
That must be so sad for Piss Boy. Don't you know there's nothing more attractive than a failure? Those are the kinds of people who really lean upon you. There's nothing in this world more gratifying than having someone who relies on you.
Ember mused, looking back toward Noelle. Azriel sighed and watched as Burger Pants and Noelle attempted to build a rudimentary sandcastle. They didn't have any tools at their disposal to help aid them, but it didn't stop them from having fun. It's funny how his lover was so self-conscious, but the moment Azriel sits off to the side with a beautiful woman, not a single jealous bone could be found in his body. He really was trusting and naive. The best of qualities as far as he was concerned. He'd do anything to keep things that way. I think he would make an excellent father, don't you?
Father? I'm thinking he looks more like a cheap babysitter. What do you say? Throw him my way for a weekend or two so I can go run off and have some fun?
December, he said decisively, looking at her seriously. I'm actually serious about taking him as my partner. He is the one destined for me, tied tightly to my side by a red string of fate. But no matter how tightly the knot is pulled, it seems the leash is way too loose for my liking. I want to grow old with him. He wants a family. And of course, you are important to me as well. Would you possibly consider entertaining the idea of surrogacy? With that question came an uproarious fit of unhinged laughter, and a swift kick to the side.
What the fuck are you asking me? At this point, why don't you just come out and ask me to be your full-time beard? Your dear mother would be absolutely delighted.
My mother would be devastated that the precious son she raised with her own two hands turned out to be just like his father.
So that's why you specifically asked me, huh? To pull a fast one on your mom? You always were a rotten bastard, Azzy. You skip town to leave the fate of the world on my shoulders, and when you come back, you ask me with a straight face to bear your child so that your boyfriend can play house. I can't believe this.
All things considered, her reaction wasn't a bad one. It's not like he thought of taking any kind of action immediately anyway. But if he and Burger Pants were going to have a future together, he definitely wanted to make preparations in advance. Use every possible opportunity he had granted to him in order to keep that guy by his side for as long as he could. Besides, the faster he aged, the less time he had to live out in agony.
You can't have a child when you're still a child yourself, Azzy. You're thinking about spoiling that boyfriend of yours, yeah? And what about yourself? Do you really want to raise a child? Or is it something you'd consider just because he wants a family? If you're only giving one-sidedly, you don't have a relationship, you have an obsession. It should be a two-way street. You should selfishly want things for yourself and be open in telling him about it. And whatever ideas you two mutually agree upon, those are the ones you should pursue. If you really want a kid that badly, come back and ask me in 7 years, why don't you?
That aggravated smile on Ember's face held no malice whatsoever. What she told him came out of a place of affection, which Azriel was grateful for. However, specifically saying to come back in 7 years? Just how much did she know was going on with this world? That hesitant smile stayed plastered on his face. He should never underestimate her. She was one of the 3 evils in this universe he could never hope to best. And that gained her top rankings in his heart with the other 2 contenders, Chris and, of course, Burger Pants. Right at the moment he was about to give Ember a courteous reply, Azriel felt a vibration in his soul, like the pinging of a text message. It's not that he hadn't had this situation occur before. It was the circumstances that made it strange. After bestowing Burger Pants with a blessing, he still somehow didn't quite understand how it worked. His partner never purposely used it for anything. Purposely being the key phrase. That jerk did abuse that power quite a few times subconsciously in the sheets, which both flattered Azriel and annoyed him to no avail. And now having that association made the air feel a bit scandalous. Azriel looked over his partner's way. Burger Pants was wading in the ocean about waist deep, smiling with the strangest expression on his face, and seemingly waving him over. Oh, so he did know how to control it after all. He always was full of surprises. It was just a pity Az couldn't read his thoughts from this distance to confirm it. No matter, he would be there soon enough. And as soon as Azriel had the situation explained to him, he wondered why he hadn't expected this from the start. Somehow, some way, a wave came crashing down on Burger Pants and caused him to struggle briefly. And in that struggle, of course, he lost his pants. There were no precautions in the world that circumvented such a powerful curse. Whatever was the cause continued to be a mystery, even to Azriel. December looked out toward the ocean line. It seemed like Piss Boy had wandered out into the water too far while not knowing how to swim, and needed help being coaxed back to shore. There was no doubt about it, as he was being way too placating with that little lover of his. And that guy was absolutely shameless, screaming bloody murder while clinging to Azriel like that. They weren't even submerged shoulder deep. Surely, they could simply walk back to the safety of the sand, right? Azriel must have been toying with him too, since he barely had one arm around him for support, and was taking his sweet time on the matter too. And the longer they stayed in the water, the stranger that guy's voice became. Was he really that afraid of drowning? It must have bordered on a phobia at this point. Azzy, it's not okay to mock people like that. Oh, that poor little kitten was clinging onto Azriel for dear life. It was so pitiful it was almost cute, especially since that guy seemed to notice he was being bullied, and would occasionally ball up a fist and hit Azzy with it. And when that guy let out a particularly awful sounding scream, that's when she saw it with her own eyes. Azriel Dreamer actually kissed him. Kissed Piss Boy! With that pretty boy mouth of his. Well, duh. She already knew about this. They said they were lovers. Azzy even thought about raising a child with that weirdo. Of course they had to be a real couple. However, hearing of such a thing and bearing witness to it were two different things entirely. It was almost terrifying.
Weak in the knees and breathing hard, a reluctant and exhausted Burger Pants leaned against Azriel for support. Even so, he deftly avoided that bad shoulder as if out of guilt. Azriel already told him it was mostly healed, but his partner never seemed to listen when he formulated his own ideas on the matter. Just let me carry you to shore. Once we get on land, I can wrap my jacket around your waist.
No way in hell, bud! Innocent girls are present! How could I possibly taint their eyes with by showing them such an indecent sight? If you think it's no big deal to go around bare-bottomed in front of them, by all means, you should just give me your swim trunks instead.
Azriel breathed out a chuckle in his lover's ear.
You know I can't possibly do that right now. Even though you've just had your fun, I'm afraid my appetite has only grown stronger. Burger Pants stared intently at him with the most broken face, pink aura rising around him, making him reminiscent of a peculiar-looking schoolgirl who had just become aware of her first crush. His body trembled as if the breeze hitting his shoulders would chill him to death in this insufferable heat. The fleeting thoughts of the two of them crammed together in a bathroom stall flew past in a blur, which amused Azriel to no end. This idiot had no imagination whatsoever. What did he think the shower rooms were for?
Even more motivated to get them onto land promptly, Azriel took off his soaked shirt and fashioned it around Burger Pants' waist and between his legs, forming a very crude makeshift loincloth.
Honestly, it looked more like a big diaper, and it was all the more apparent when they came onto dry land. The water that came pouring out from the trap folds of the garment didn't do the imagery any service. Not only Ember and Noelle, but even Azriel had to laugh at the sight, despite the amount of slander and curses that flashed through his head.
True to his word, Azriel wrapped his jacket around Burger Pants and walked toward the boardwalk with his partner close by his side. He'd used the excuse of Burger Pants losing his swimsuit as their escape plan to go off to the gift shop, adding in that he intended to bring back lots of snacks and drinks, in order to buy them even more playtime, of course. On the way walking over, though, Azriel couldn't help but notice he'd forgotten his sandals at the beach. He could feel the warm sand filling in the spaces between his toes, allowing his feet to sink into its depths. And honestly, it really wasn't half bad. Azriel had always been waiting for the other shoe to drop, for the next big disaster to strike, and time again, disaster did strike. But every time, his partner was there with him, serving as a reminder that they could sit back, take things in as they come, and walked hand in hand while barefoot on the scorching hot beach. Though it might be a little irritating in the future, that was of no consequence, because for now, it was actually very nice to take a moment and really feel the sand between his toes. Alright, now comes the fun part where I'm not reading and I get to discuss things. I hate reading, but I love talking about this. I love talking about this so much. But that's why we're making the recordings, right? That's why we're doing this. We're doing this to discuss. So let's discuss. Okay, so this whole idea, first off, Let That Sink In was pretty much inspired by Umris.
And let me just say, the whole Umrus thing is actually a blur to me. I don't remember anything, just like Yeek, I don't remember anything about the streams except how miserable it made me feel. I was so Susie and Birdley's compet romance was such a special disinterest to me. I blocked it all out like it was trauma, so I don't really remember what happened in Umrus except for I Want Child, and I don't know, them getting drunk all the time, and them being miserable, and them not even liking each other, but they keep going on about this relationship, I guess, and something about having dreams about Chris. I don't remember. I really don't. And then there were, like, the Umrus stories. I don't remember anything that happened in those either. I, like, completely blanked out of my mind, except maybe it might have been a beach. Perhaps it might have been a beach. So that's where the beach idea came in. And then I was on Discord, and we were talking, I don't even remember what we were talking about, but somebody compared, oh, it was Burger Pants' face. Somebody compared somebody said this was either Undertale or Gay or JoJo. And then, so I throw my little shit post in, Burger Pants is best JoJo. I don't even really know how this conversation got to that, but we were discussing, like, Azriel and Burger Pants having, like, this intimate moment, and Azriel completely ruined the mood by comparing it to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, or something like that. I don't even remember. And then it kept going on, we kept all adding our 2 cents in, and then I think that same person said something along the lines of, we all thought Umrus was the chosen one, but it's Child Azzy Pants fulfills the prophecy, or something like that. I really need to look that up. I'm misquoting everyone, I'm so sorry. But, I misread it. I misread what it said, and I thought that it said, we all thought that Umrus was the chosen one, but I Want Child Azzy Pants will fulfill the prophecy. And I immediately, I was like, okay, you got it. We will get that I Want Child Azzy Pants. And that's where this came from. This is a shitpost. I'm a shitpost. It's glorious. So I already had this setting, I might as well do something with it, right? Because it's all kicking in the back of my mind. I have way too many ideas over this stupid thing that I made. So I went further along in Azriel's story, way past where Let That Sink In was. And this time, not all the other times, definitely not all the other times in Let That Sink In, but this time I knew that the audience wasn't really aware of things. So I threw in a few kicks here and there to trip everybody up. I did that on purpose. And I think it worked a little bit better than expected, but I did throw in little crumbs to hint at the world building, at the things that happened. I tried to fill in the cracks a little bit. I knew where people were being left off. They just left off with, Burger Pants thinking he was going to get some action. Speaking of action, we are going to go past the PG point. We're fully going past the PG, and we're gonna pop some cherries. So, we are going to be talking about some adult-oriented topics now. We're going to use some strong language. So if this is your leaving point, thank you very much for listening to this, and I'm very sorry that you had to listen to this. Let us just dive into the rest of this. So we start off with Azriel looking in the mirror describing himself, but everybody had just come from Let That Sink In, so everybody is so used to Burger Pants' perspective. I could not do Burger Pants' story. The reason why it's Azriel is because Burger Pants' version of this story, he's perpetually horny. He is perpetually horny throughout this story, so, that would not have been easy to write. That would have just been a completely different genre. A completely different genre from Let That Sink In. So I softened it a little bit and just had Azriel, and Azriel as a narrator is very different from Burger Pants, because Burger Pants is extremely open. Burger Pants will just let every little detail slip by him, right? He will tell it all, baby. He is not ashamed. But Azriel is. Azriel kind of skips over things and gently goes into things. He will not tell you exactly what Burger Pants is thinking. He will just allude to what Burger Pants is thinking. He's not even saying what he's seeing from the other people, right? He's more of a private person. He keeps all this stuff to himself. The only thing he's really honest about is what he's feeling. So this whole opening paragraph is just Azriel looking at himself in the mirror and talking about how ugly he finds himself to be. And, this all stemmed from me trying to draw Azriel and it triggering my own BDD. BDD is body dysmorphic disorder. It's a mental disorder where you don't see yourself as a person. You don't see yourself the way other people see you. You see yourself as all these different features, all these ugly features, and you can't see the whole picture. All you see is like bushy eyebrows, and all you see is frizzy hair, just like Azriel himself did right here, describing all the small little features as something foreign and ugly and disgusting. I felt that way with Azriel. I know all Azriel's features, right? I mean, I've seen Azriel from Undertale, and Ralsei does exist, though I don't think that Azriel looks exactly like Ralsei. But trying to figure out what a non-kid Azriel... I only have the one picture of Azriel that I've been using for all of my art, and he doesn't even have any horns. Let's see if I can get that in here somehow. Peach, can you edit that in? Okay, so that is the one picture of Azriel that I keep using, because it's the only one where I could really kind of see what Azriel looks like. All of the other things, I just see like this amalgam of features, right? I see the weird slanty eyes, and then I know about the sunken-in nose and the ever-present fangies, which are really adorable. I love his little fangies. I don't like his ears, and I don't know which way the horns go. So I just do the simple thing and make it like a little devil headband, like the kind that Chris would wear. But sometimes they go back, sometimes they go in, sometimes they go outward. Does he have a tail? I don't know. Does he have 4 fingers? Can he have 5 fingers? I don't know. Same with Burger Pants. Does he have 3 fingers? Or is that like 3 fingers and a little thumb? I don't know. So, it is extremely hard for me to draw this Azriel, right? And I have so much motivation for anything AZPT right now. But for now, it is my thing. So I am trying to indulge as much AZPT as I possibly can while I still enjoy it. But Azriel is the biggest challenge for me. I've grown to love Burger Pants. I absolutely adore Burger Pants, and I used to genuinely enjoy Azriel, and now I kind of dislike Azriel. I don't like you. I don't like drawing you. Please go away. So that's where this came from. Azriel pretty much triggering my BDD, and I can't... Azriel pretty much being like these floating features in my head that I can't put into a single person. It pains me every time I have to draw him, which is so sad. Azriel is actually a good person. He criticizes himself way too harshly, and that's because of all the trauma that he has. I hope that he didn't come off like a malicious person. Yeah, he's a murderer, but he's not malicious. He kills them with kindness. So we have this opening paragraph, and it kind of sounds like Azriel is talking about Burger Pants at first. He's looking at this melting blob of a man with these beady, lifeless, cold eyes, and you're like, oh my god, Azriel. Is that really how you see Burger Pants? But no, he's talking about himself. That's why immediately we go into the fangs and the ears, so we know that Azriel is talking about himself. And we see those issues that he has, because it's not really his body that's the issue to him. He actually really likes his body. It's his face that he has problems with, and that's because of his trauma. He really hates himself. It's not like he thinks his mom is ugly, or he thinks his dad is ugly, and they share the same features as him. He doesn't see them like this. He only sees himself like this, because he thinks that he is a horrible, disgusting person who tortures his loved ones. He's still stuck in that Flowey mindset, except Flowey never had that mindset. This is just all trauma that he has. So then we bring in the Deltarune thing, where he's sitting there blowing a fog on this glass to get rid of his image. That's one thing we do know from Deltarune, is that Azriel would sit in the diner with Chris and blow fog on the glass and draw pictures. That's where this came from. It's not that Azriel was being nice and playing a game with Chris, it's that Azriel couldn't stand to look at himself and was drawing all these features of a better looking him. You know, gotta take whatever's in Deltarune and just twist it a little. That's what I tried to do here, is I take all these details that hold a little bit of truth and I just twist it, wring it, mold it into something completely different. And oh boy, oh boy, is this different. And then we go more into how Azriel feels about people thinking that he's so handsome and he's so perfect, and they're freaking nuts, they're freaking crazy thinking all these things about him. Nobody sees the real him, and he draws on the glass, but he kind of sees the mirror underneath the glass as he's drawing. But then he kind of catches a glimpse of Burger Pants, and he like lights up. That's his partner, the one who takes all this pain away, the one that makes him accept himself for who he is, the one that accepts him for who he is. He goes from shit-talking himself in the mirror to, oh my god, I've got to preen myself right now. My lover's right there. I've got to look good for him, you know? Completely distracts his mind from that. And Burger Pants, who had just woken up, is feeling a little bit playful. He's definitely feeling a little bit playful, and he tries to get Azriel to go back to bed with him. I guess if I don't say things outright, they get lost. They get lost in translation, because I keep trying to, hint at things that are happening. I definitely, in this story, in this version of the story, hint at things that happen behind the scenes, but I obviously didn't make that clear enough. Even that I didn't make clear enough, so I am just going to say Azriel and Burger Pants have this really physical relationship, but Burger Pants is very compet, right? He has this one idea in his head of what a relationship looks like, and that's not helped by the porn he watches. He keeps saying over and over again, this is how you do it. This is what goes on in a relationship. You have this, that, and the big finale, and that's how it goes. And that's what Burger Pants has in his head. So, while Azriel and him have kissed, and hugged, and held hands, and they've used hands, and they've used legs, and they've used mouths, and they've used each other, but they have not had penetrative sex. They haven't gone, quote-unquote, all the way yet. And, that's what Burger Pants sees as the end-all be-all of a relationship, right? He thinks that's how you have sex. He thinks it's all penetrative sex. So, he wants to cross that line and validate their relationship. Like, this is a real relationship. Not realizing, right? Not realizing that's not how life is. That's not how real life is. But that's what he's seen, and that's what he grew up knowing, so that's what he thinks. But he can't be too forward about that, because Azriel is injured, and Burger Pants feels like Azriel is injured because of him. Azriel died, and Azriel almost died again because of Burger Pants, or at least that's how he feels. So he definitely does not want to push that body very far, and he holds himself back. He tries to repress everything, except he's very bad at that. He is very bad at repressing himself, and he takes advantage of whatever he can get whenever he can get it, pretty much. So right now, he's trying to drag Azriel back to bed so that they can play around, and Azriel knows this. Azriel is well aware of this, but then, Oh, the smell thing. The smell thing is actually in Let That Sink In. I think I've mentioned it a couple times, except I didn't mention it outright because Burger Pants doesn't know. I'm sorry, I'm texting. I'm not paying attention to what I'm saying. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, the smell thing. The smell thing is actually in Let That Sink In, but it's not spelled out because Burger Pants doesn't think about that doesn't think of himself as having that. He doesn't even notice that he has this thing about smells. Like, there are certain smells that really turn him off, and there are certain smells that really turn him on. And Azriel is one of those smells. He really likes sniffing Azriel. Well, it's weird when you say it like that, but he gets this, like, nostalgic feeling, and then, of course, he also associates that with their intimacy, having Azriel all sweaty, so he kind of gets these good feelings around smelling Azriel. And of course he has a different nose than Azriel, so he's more sensitive to smells than Azriel is. that was another thing about his job that he absolutely hated. I mean, there are smells that really bother Azriel. He's not really into the smell of weed. He's not really into cigarettes, but he does take up cigarettes. Oh my god. Anyway, let us stick to this craziness. Let's not go into other lore. So yeah, Burger Pants just like comes up and starts sniffing him, like he's really getting into this. He really wants to drag Azriel back to play, but that makes Azriel a little bit self-conscious, and then he's thinking, oh shit, I know I just took a shower, but maybe I should take a shower before I go, because I probably smell. And then he's like, oh yeah, that's right, we don't really have that much time. If I take this shower, then that's eating up some time that we have before we have to go. I can't be late. I already made prior engagements, so they definitely can't play around now, right? So he's pretty much telling Burger Pants to behave. Don't worry, I'll definitely take care of you later, but for right now, let's just focus on going to the beach and having some fun and having a nice day, and when we come back, whatever happens, happens. But Burger Pants is really insistent. Burger Pants keeps giving him this pushback, and it's very hard for Azriel to tell him no, just like it's hard for Burger Pants to tell Azriel no. Actually, Burger Pants can tell Azriel no a lot easier than Azriel can tell Burger Pants no, and we see that a little bit here. Burger Pants keeps giving him this pushback, and he's sitting there thinking about Burger Pants more and more and has these ideas in his head, and all of a sudden Azriel starts getting all these dirty thoughts, and just when he's like, okay, fuck it, whatever, I don't really need to shower, let's just go for it, and Burger Pants sees this, like, devilish smile, and Azriel's just like, and he's like, oh shit, Azriel's up to something, I better be good, or else I'm gonna get it. So Burger Pants kind of sees this as like a threat / a prank that's going to happen to him. He's like, okay, alright, I'll be good, you don't have to tell me twice. And Azriel's like, wait, what, where are you going? You just had me. I was willing. He was going to sacrifice his shower time for Burger Pants, but then he goes ahead and just takes a shower. Might as well now. So in the shower, Azriel's thinking about the relationship and how much Burger Pants means to him and how Burger Pants makes him see the world differently. He starts noticing things, the beauty in things that he never saw before. It makes him really appreciate his life. And that's scary. It's scary to let somebody in and have somebody mean this much to him, because the past, he tortured his loved ones, and he doesn't want to ever do that ever again, even though it wasn't really him, but he has this in his mind that he is horrible toward his loved ones, and to have somebody mean so much to him, it's a terrifying thought to him. And then the other thing is, having somebody this close to him, it's going to hurt all that much more when Burger Pants inevitably leaves him, right? That's what Azriel's thinking. Burger Pants is just going to go off and do his own thing. He's taking advantage of what he can now. He really likes Burger Pants, and he wants Burger Pants to be his forever partner, but he doesn't see it working out. He can't see that right now. Anything working out with him. He thinks of it as like a curse. Like everything's going to get taken away from him. And so he even says, I'm going to ride these highs, I'm going to fly as close to the sun as I possibly can, live it up all I can, and whenever it all gets taken away from me, whenever it all crashes down, I just hope that it takes me with it. That I don't have to suffer after that. That I only live through those highs, and don't have to live through those lows. And then he's thinking about how Burger Pants adjusted to this world, and he wasn't here for when Burger Pants really adjusted to the world. He was just here after Burger Pants had pretty much settled down here. Burger Pants had gone out and tried to figure things out for himself, and ultimately, he's here. He's here with Azriel. This is his choice. His choice is to stay here with Azriel. He is not chained to Azriel like Azriel thinks. Azriel thinks that he chained Burger Pants to him. No, Burger Pants is here willingly, and this is what Burger Pants wants to do. But he doesn't see it that way. He thinks that Burger Pants is his hostage, and he's thinking about that, how Burger Pants isn't complaining, and it's very weird for your hostage to not complain about being captured. And he thinks about the only time that Burger Pants ever really freaked out, it's when Azriel had that, when he found that pendant that Azriel made with the false tooth.
We don't actually know if Azriel in Deltarune has a heart pendant that he had in Undertale, but in Let That Sink In, I'm going to say no, because Toriel has a heart pendant, and I'm going to say that Chris's heart pendant goes to Toriel in this fic. And in this fic, Azriel does wear a pendant,
but it's for Burger Pants. He wears Burger Pants' frickin' veneer. Because it's a memento, it's the key item that made him realize that Burger Pants was made for him, that Burger Pants was not going to hurt him, even if he tried to, and pretty much Burger Pants is perfect for him. He couldn't have asked for anything more. He is absolutely blown out of the water just how much this guy is suited towards him. Every single aspect is suited towards something that Azriel likes, so this is just the representation of how he bagged this unattainable guy, in Azriel's mind, of course. Burger Pants is unattainable for other reasons to other people. But yeah, for Burger Pants, those memories aren't the best. And, he does not have that same body. Unfortunately, that body is gone now. The body where the veneer fell off has turned to dust. But he has this new Burger Pants body that Azriel stole for him. He gets to have the same exact features he had before, the same exact features he hated looking at. Not as much as Azriel hates looking at his own features, of course, but Burger Pants does have a little bit of self-loathing in there. Alright, and this is how I transition into letting everybody know Azriel stole Burger Pants' soul. That was like the whole conflict of Let That Sink In, is whether Azriel was going to steal Burger Pants' soul or not, and I did not communicate that effectively. Nobody had a clue about that, and I didn't realize that. I didn't realize a lot of things that I didn't write in there. So that's why I do these videos. Because what's in my mind and what is on paper are two completely different things, and I don't know what I wrote down, and what I said, and what I just thought about. So, here's me saying the things that I did not communicate well before. So Azriel's in the shower, thinking about all this stuff, thinking about his life with Burger Pants, how he actually really likes living a domestic life with Burger Pants like this, and that when this all started out a couple months ago, he was a little bit scared, because Burger Pants was very distant with him, and very standoffish. He wasn't sure if Burger Pants was extremely traumatized, and would now be scared of him, and would now hate him, and that's what Azriel was expecting. He was expecting Burger Pants to be very hostile and hate him. And, in the back of his mind, Azriel still hears the echoes of what Chris said to him the last time that him and Chris saw each other. And Azriel can't lose another person. So, even though he really wants to make amends with Burger Pants, he can't in good conscience keep bugging the guy in case it causes him to hate him even more. He cannot be hated by Burger Pants. Burger Pants is his, sole reason for existence right now. Burger Pants is what he's living for. So he's giving Burger Pants that room, and letting him readjust, and letting him feel his feelings. But Burger Pants isn't taking this too bad. Burger Pants is not taking this badly at all. Burger Pants is still well, I ain't got no money, and I ain't got no job, and I can't buy my own smokes, so do you mind helping a guy out? Burger Pants has no beef, no qualms asking for everything. Just asking Azriel for every frickin' thing that he could ever possibly want. And Azriel is more than willing to do it. Anything that guy wants, he will give his baby whatever he wants. Except Azriel has one rule. Burger Pants is really worried about that scar, about Azriel's injuries, and he kind of, but not really, but kind of tries to stay off all the heavy physical stuff, tries not to be a burden, tries not to get too hot and heavy with him. Even though he really, really wants to get very hot and heavy with him, tries to chill. He tries to chill, so he sleeps on the couch. He keeps them separated so that there is no temptation. But Azriel's not taking it like this. Azriel is thinking that Burger Pants is being sulky, that Burger Pants is throwing a little tantrum, right? And that Burger Pants still feels a little bit hesitant because the last time that Burger Pants was on a bed with Azriel, Azriel took his soul from him. And the situation in which this happened, Burger Pants thought he was going to get sex. And that's not what happened. There was penetration, but not the same penetration that he had thought there would be. So, he's thinking about how Burger Pants probably has this trauma, right? Kinda has this distrust for being in the same bed as him, which he understands, but he's also being a little bit petty about it, because that's his lover, that's his partner, and he does not want to sleep in this big empty bed without his partner, who keeps sleeping on the couch. And even though he is more than willing to, like, go up to him and kiss him and play around a little bit, he is not willing to go into Azriel's bedroom. So it irritates Azriel to no end, and he decides, no, we are not going to play around in the front room. Absolutely not. You will be allowed 3 kisses, and that's it. If you want any more, you're going to have to go into the bedroom with me. But he doesn't say it, of course. Of course he doesn't say it. He's used to being like this soft manipulator, right? So he'll distract them both after those 3 allotted kisses. You know, he'll go off here, or he'll go off to his bedroom, or he'll all of a sudden get very hungry and need a snack, or, you know, that kind of stuff. He kind of puts it off after those 3, and Burger Pants does not understand this. Burger Pants needs things spelled out, and that is not spelling things out. That is very subtle. So Burger Pants doesn't understand that this is happening. Burger Pants just thinks that Azriel is uncomfortable. So he lets it go pretty much whenever this happens. He takes it as a sign to cool down. So that's what happens here. They're like making out, and Burger Pants is getting handsy, and Azriel stops them like, oh yeah, that face you're making, that reminds me of this anime, ha ha ha. Then he uses that as an excuse to get up and go put on a DVD and pretend like he's watching the DVD. He is not watching the show. He is watching Burger Pants' very, very graphic thoughts of him and Burger Pants together. Burger Pants is having like all these lewd thoughts run in his head about Azriel and him on the couch, and them doing this and that in this position and that position, and Azriel's just like soaking it in. Like he definitely has dinner and a show. And like Burger Pants' thoughts just keep getting more wild and crazier, and Azriel's just like giving into this, right? He's looking at all these things, and his partner is just so turned on by him, and he's like, he's getting turned on himself, right? His will is slipping. And here's the thing about voices. We are going to talk about that. So Burger Pants, throughout this story, it keeps having all these like wild fantasies about Azriel, and the thing that really, really turns Burger Pants' butter is Azriel's voice. Every time that Azriel calls out to him, or makes any little moan, or any little noise, it just like, Burger Pants should know. Because Azriel did explain the whole singing thing, but Burger Pants doesn't know. He just knows that this voice really affects him. Every time he hears it, it makes his soul shudder. Every time that he hears Azriel crying out. So every time that he has these fantasies, it's always of him, like, pleasing Azriel, and Azriel just absolutely freaking going crazy moaning, right? And of course, him thinking about Azriel moaning and Azriel actually moaning are 2 different things, because Azriel actually has that power to stir Burger Pants' soul, but he doesn't know this, so every single time it's just like them going buck freaking wild, going ham, doing this, doing that, and every time in his fantasies, of course, Azriel has like this absolute ecstasy. He's really crying out, and that's kind of what makes Azriel slip a little bit, because he keeps seeing all these fantasies, and he's like, okay, alright, that doesn't sound so bad. That sounds like it would be fun. And then he just kind of decides, you know what? Fuck it. I don't even care about the rules anymore. If he wants to go for it, just let him go for it. And he places his hand on top of Burger Pants. It's like, yeah, okay, it's alright. Let's just go for this. But this kind of startles Burger Pants, who's in the middle of these thoughts, with Azriel kind of like taking his hand in the middle of watching this show, and it's like this romantic thing, and it kind of brings him back to Earth, like, that's right, Azrael isn't just like this sex object. Azrael is his partner, and he definitely needs to take care of his partner, right? Especially since Azrael is injured. He needs to show a little bit of class, and he needs to be a gentleman about this. So Burger Pants is trying to distract himself from all these naughty thoughts, and he's like staring at this show, but he's not interested in the show, he's interested in the guy next to him. He's sitting there trying to distract himself by making conversation about whatever's going on in the show, and he's not really paying attention. So he just makes this comment about how all anime have this beach episode, which not all anime. Most of the anime that I watch don't have a beach episode. It's just the long-running series that are really popular for some reason. That's just a thing. I don't even know. But I know it's a thing. And I think it was a thing that happened in the Omer stories, but I'm not sure about that. But that's why the beach episode is here. It's because of that. And yes, I did had to look up if JoJo's Bizarre Adventure had a beach episode, because I've never watched it. My sibling watches it, but I have never watched it, so I don't exactly know what it's about, and at this point there's too much for me to ever question it. Anyway, so he's trying to pay attention to this show, but then he sees all these people, like, having fun on the beach, and then Burger Pants starts thinking about having fun on the beach with Azrael, and he's like picturing Azrael stuck in a sandcastle in compromising positions, and thinking about them in the sand, just going all out for it with the waves like splashing them and stuff. Oh my god, he has like these really graphic thoughts, and he's stuck in horny jail. He is stuck in horny jail. He cannot get his mind out of the gutter. And Azrael's saying all this like, what the fuck, dude? What? Like, this is pure porn fantasy, pretty much, where it's not really, it's not viable in real life, and things would definitely not work out like this. Having sand up your urethra is a form of torture. It is a form of torture. So to be pressed down in the sand like that, no. just no. Just absolutely no. Get those pictures out of your head. The beach frickin' sucks. It stinks. There's broken glass everywhere. Your foot gets gashed open. It's dirty. It's messy. The sun is bearing down on you. The sand is hot and it burns your feet, and you get the sand stuck all in your fur and stuck in between your toes, and no matter how you clean, it stays there forever, and you just want us to roll around buck naked in the beach, the dirty ass beach. How freaking off base are you? You just don't understand the situation at all. You don't understand at all. So Azrael starts thinking about taking Burger Pants to the beach, but it's not really for the same intentions that Burger Pants is. Azrael just kind of wants to burst his bubble a little bit. Like, okay, yeah, you want to go to the beach? I'll show you what the beach is really like. But then he starts thinking about it, and Burger Pants is a really lonely person. He comes from a big family, and his family kind of separated, just like Azrael's. And while Burger Pants has friends, he's not the kind to hang out with friends. Azrael's really just like his one person. He kind of sticks to himself and that one person, and now it's just them. And Azrael doesn't see Burger Pants reaching out to anyone else. He kind of sees Burger Pants stuck in this box with him. So he's like, you know, going to the beach and having a good time, just like this anime episode, going out with friends and doing all kinds of stuff, that wouldn't be so bad. And that's what Burger Pants really wants, right? He wants that big family. He misses that family. And Azrael can kind of feel that too. He's been hurt by his family's separation, and he too kind of wants to form this family, but he's not thinking of it as the same way as Burger Pants. To Burger Pants, a family is like a wife and children. To Azrael, a family is just a bunch of people who stick together, right? But you know, maybe they should go out and have a good experience and hang around with other people and not stay stuck in this little box together. They should really start moving on with their lives, right? They should start living again and not being stuck in this little rut, not being stuck in this routine. So he goes off to his room and discusses things with Ember. The last time he saw Ember, they had this big knockdown drag out, and they fought and all this stuff, and they kind of made amends, with Azrael taking back his role, and they haven't really spoken since. So he kind of patches things up with her, and then she gets into the whole thing about Noelle going to the hospital. Noelle's not having a good time right now. And Noelle's kind of like Chris in this world. Noelle's just having a really, really rough time in her life right now. So Azriel hears about this and is like, okay, that settles it. I'm not even gonna ask Burger Pants about this. We are going to the beach. I'm making that decision right now. You and me and Noelle and Burger Pants, we're all gonna go to the beach and we're going to have a nice fun time. And we're going to start living again, damn it. Even though we're living in shit, there needs to be some kind of happiness in this world. And, you know, he really does want to patch things up with Ember and have Ember and Noelle kind of incorporate back into his life again. And of course, he's thinking about Burger Pants making a friend as well. Burger Pants getting along with them. So he makes those plans, he takes Burger Pants out to go get a bathing suit, and Azriel gets a bathing suit, and Burger Pants, who is stuck in horny jail, he caves in. He definitely caves in and follows Azriel to his bed that night, which Azriel is very happy about. Azriel can make no complaints. Burger Pants can make a few complaints, because Burger Pants is still holding back, but they're very happy. They are very happy right now.
So Azriel's thinking about all this in the shower, kind of catching everybody up to speed with what was happening, and he sees Burger Pants in the mirror where he was before he took the shower, and Burger Pants is like checking out this bathing suit and trying to make sure that the bathing suit won't fall off, because that is his biggest concern, is his pants have a history of falling down, and he definitely doesn't want his bathing suit to fall down, because he doesn't even have the protection of underwear. That's why he specifically got the mesh lining trunks. And Azriel has this little giggle thinking about it, and Burger Pants notices him. Burger Pants is already caught up in his own thoughts, and he notices Azriel, and then he sees that big gash on the left side of Azriel's body, and he's reminded just how bad it is. So he kind of stares for a couple minutes, and then he looks away like, oh, don't stare, don't stare. Then Azriel will know that you're staring at it. And Azriel takes this in a different way. He thinks that Burger Pants is like looking him up, and he's like, you've seen my body since we were like kids. You've seen my body as an adult when we've been intimate. Why is this such a surprise to you now? And then Azriel's thinking about it, and he's like, so Burger Pants wasn't like peeking in on him or anything. He really was just getting ready for this beach trip obediently, which is very cute and very nice. So he already has kind of like warm feelings about this, right? And then he kind of peeks into Burger Pants' thoughts, and Burger Pants is thinking about the wound on his shoulder, and Azriel realizes that that's what was concerning Burger Pants, and not that he was naked. It's more he was worried about him. He was worried about the wound on his shoulder, and Azriel's like, nothing will ever separate us. Don't worry about this wound. It is nothing. We'll be fine together, just as long as I have you. But of course he does it in that double speak. He says, I don't think you have to worry. There isn't a misfortune great enough that would be able to loosen such a secure grip. You'll be fine. Which is the doublespeak talking about both the bathing suit not falling off and also Azriel not letting go. So, pretty much Azriel flirting. He flirts like this quite a lot with Burger Pants in Let That Sink In. Like, I think one of the first things he says is flirting with Burger Pants. That he likes music individually, not just by genre, and that water quenches a thirst best. Like, that's how he flirts. That's how he flirts, and that goes way over Burger Pants' head. And so Azriel gets kind of playful and tugs at the hemline. And then Burger Pants thinks over what Azriel is saying about nothing being able to take those pants off, and he's like, man, I really wish you would take my pants off right now, like right frickin' now. And Azriel sees these thoughts, and he already has all these warm, good feelings that he's been building up in the shower, and that he has as soon as he realizes that Burger Pants is like thinking about him and worrying about him, and not just ogling him in the shower, and he's like, you know what, yeah, I'm going for it. And so that's exactly what happens. Unless we're going the PG version. I have a PG version now. In the PG version, Azriel uses fire magic to burn Burger Pants' shorts, and they go back to the store to buy Burger Pants another bathing suit that easily falls off. But the non-PG version is that
Azriel definitely takes advantage of this situation, and he goes with the plans that Burger Pants had previously that morning.
I guess I should, explain this idiom. This idiom is very confusing, so I will explain it right now. It is, playing with fire wasn't scary at all. It was rather fun. Forget the fear of being burned. If you knew how to control it, there is no chance at all of being singed. So playing with fire... Azriel knows that Burger Pants is very horny and wants to have this penetrative sex. He wants to go all the way. But, that's absolutely not going to happen right now, because they already have plans. They don't have a lot of time. They don't have a lot of time to do very much. Whatever they do, one, they have to stay pretty clean so that they don't have to shower again. And, it can't take up much time. It needs to be something very quick, very neat. Wham bam, it's done. So they definitely can't do that right now. But he realizes that he's kind of leading Burger Pants on every time that he's playing around with him. So that's what the playing with fire wasn't scary at all. Playing with fire, getting yourself into this dangerous situation, he doesn't really fear the consequences because he knows how to control it. He knows how to satisfy Burger Pants in a way that Burger Pants isn't really going to, like, retaliate or do something rash, right? Burger Pants is pretty level-headed and isn't gonna go for it without consent. So, that's what this passage means. Forget the fear of being burned. If you knew how to control it, there is no chance at all of being singed. And we see in the next paragraph, the very next paragraph, Azriel once again was overestimating his ability to control Burger Pants. He completely overestimated his ability to rein in Burger Pants. Just as always, he never had a firm grasp on controlling Burger Pants. Burger Pants has always been out of his control. So not only did they, like, suck each other off, he kind of swept Azriel off his feet, and they started playing around a little bit more. And, they really lost track of time, and they absolutely did not make their appointment, and Azriel's, like, rushing, and he's feeling guilty about leaving Ember and Noelle there, and he's also feeling guilty about leaving Burger Pants in the condition that Burger Pants is in, and he feels guilty, like, this is not a good situation. He's, like, trying to rush out the door, he's trying to remember his towels, he's trying to remember everything that he needs, and he's trying- oh god, it's just such a mess, it's just such a mess, and I love it so much. Anyway, so Azriel gets there, and he's, trying to explain what happened, why they're so late, and the only excuse that he can think of is that he had car trouble, which the only trouble really is that their engines got roaring and they didn't go anywhere with it. But he's pretty much lying, so that he doesn't have to explain anything. And then he sees this thought flash through his head, like, Burger Pants looking at his jacket and shirt. Of course, Burger Pants is still thinking about the wound. That's what Burger Pants is thinking about right now. He's still thinking about just how far that they can go with that wound on his, shoulder, because Burger Pants is really very determined right now. He really wants this. He doesn't want to wait anymore. He does not want to wait anymore. He really wants to go for it. But, if it's bad enough that Azriel is self-conscious enough to wear a jacket and a shirt to the beach, then obviously this is something that's still bothering Azriel. But Azriel doesn't see this as that. Azriel thinks that Burger Pants is complaining because he has a jacket on a shirt on, so he's not, like, parading around half naked at the beach. So he kind of, like, curses Burger Pants, which, if you're a protector of the world, don't go cursing people, Azriel. Don't go cursing people, because you don't know just how powerful you are. Oh yeah, I need to talk, well, I'll talk about that when it comes up. So, like, Azriel and Burger Pants are kind of having this, back and forth, though they're not really connected, they kind of have this back and forth. And Ember recognizes, Burger Pants as the weird kid from school who's not under, her jurisdiction anymore. So, like, there's a new person in town, that's very odd. So she tries to fish some information out of him. So, Burger Pants is a little bit intimidated, already, by this girl who had only known him in elementary school, and was calling him that name that he doesn't want to be called. And why are they meeting up with her, right? He did not have this in mind. He did not have this in mind at all. So he's feeling very, self-conscious right now. He's feeling very humiliated. And then Azriel adds fuel to the fire, and starts humiliating him as well, which causes Burger Pants to retaliate a little bit more than he meant to. He's very emasculated right now, and he doesn't know why Azriel is meeting up with this girl. Definitely one that Burger Pants would describe as a knockout hottie, right? He absolutely would think that she's a babe.
So he definitely has a little bit of territorial issues right now, and he blurts out that Azriel is his lover, which takes Azriel and Ember completely off guard. None of them were expecting this. Azriel wasn't expecting Burger Pants to be that forward, and Ember was not expecting this shitty little dude, this stupid little gremlin, to be Azriel's lover, and she's just kind of thinking about it like, holy shit, what the fuck is going on? And it's not like Azriel told her about this, because Azriel and Ember they kind of still have that, rivalry going on, and it's not really good to let everybody know your weakness, but also they're friends, so, he was trying to get her more involved in his life, and that's what Azriel thinks about. It's like, yeah, actually, this is a good thing. This is a good thing that she found out this way, because then I don't have to explain things to her, and then that kind of gets her off his back about why there's this new character in town. And that she won't be too curious about him as well. She'll know to back off and not antagonize him or anything. And that just tells their standing. That just tells their standing right there. And Ember finds this highly amusing that not only did Azriel not deny it, but it seems to be true. And Azriel had just come back from not being here for freaking decades, and all of a sudden he returns, and he also has, like, the shittiest guy, not only in looks, but also in personality, and just the craziest, nastiest person that she could possibly think of, and that is Azriel's lover, supposedly, and she is just wallowing in this. She is just so entertained by this, and so she starts kind of playing around with Burger Pants as well, which at first it really irritates Burger Pants, because Burger Pants thinks she's better than him. I mean, which she does. But Burger Pants is kind of thinking about that older sister kind of personality, and then he kind of thinks about it, and she really is like an older sister, so he should just treat her like an older sister. Like, it's pretty much the same vibe, right? It's pretty much the same vibe. But then, Azriel introduces Des and Noelle, and then he notices Noelle, who's this cute little reindeer girl, and then he sees Des, who, my headcanon, and this is not canon to the fict, this is just canon to my head. So I took a page out of Election-Truckung. Election trucking. Is that good? Election trucking? Anyway, I took a page out of that, and, my headcanon is that Des is some kind of tentacle monster, and I kind of pictured her with, like, a jellyfish looking haircut, right, with the big bangs, and then she has, like, these tentacles kind of coming out from underneath that, and you know, the Rudy color scheme, pretty much. And so I have Burger Pants thinking about the Punnett squares, thinking about the genetics of how, I'm just gonna call her Mayor Holiday. We don't even know that Noelle's mom is really the mayor. It's just speculation at this point. But again, Election-Truckung, I took very much inspiration from that. So we have this tentacle monster, and Rudy, who's this deer, and Ember kind of has her mom's eyes and her mom's features, and Rudy's color scheme, while Noelle has her mom's color scheme and her dad's phenotype and her dad's features. And that's pretty much what Burger Pants is picturing in his head, and Azriel's kind of laughing at him like, what, dude, you didn't know? You didn't know? Well, of course he didn't know. Most people forgot Des even existed. But, Azriel pops his bubble and tells him that this is Des and Noelle, the same Des and Noelle that he was introduced to way back in the day, and he doesn't even remember Des, right? He does not remember Des at all. His memory was completely wiped of Des, just like most of the town. He has no memories of her. But he did kind of remember that when they were children, before Burger Pants, Azriel did have this best friend that he was really close with. So Burger Pants kind of gets that jealousy yet again. Like, oh no, oh shit, is this the childhood friend? Is this the person that I took their place? Is she going to become his best friend again? And when he gets that idea in his mind that this girl might replace him as his best friend status, he looks right at Azriel like, that's not true, right? This isn't really the childhood friend that you thought so fondly of, right? It's me, right? I'm your childhood friend, right? And then Azriel's trying to calm down the situation because Azriel thinks that Burger Pants is like really jealous right now that he and Des like dated or something, and he's trying to calm him down. No, we never dated or anything like that. She's my childhood friend. But that is the worst thing that Burger Pants could possibly hear, because that is what he was worried about. He was so worried that this was the childhood friend that Azriel treasured so much. So he's just like beside himself, and this is like the worst thing ever. Burger Pants has no value. He's just the freaking boy toy. He's not even the childhood friend anymore. He's gone down notches, and he's like having this crisis, right? He's just having this complete meltdown over not being Azriel's childhood friend anymore. Or at least in his mind, that's how it's going. And Azriel has no idea about this. Azriel has absolutely no clue what he's doing to Burger Pants. And Des kind of steps in like, oh no you don't. What are you talking about? I'm your childhood friend. We haven't seen each other in 10 years. If you really want to be friends, that's something that needs to be rekindled. We're still on the fence right now. We still have some issues to work out. And then she kind of teases Burger Pants when she calls him Pizza Boy, which she's mocking him, right? She's mocking him, but Burger Pants doesn't take it this way. Burger Pants thinks that she's kind of respecting him by calling him this. Like, oh, she's actually trying to call him by his preferred name, which gives her some props. And then she asks him, what brings you back to town? Here for the lovely view? Which she's talking about Azriel. She is talking about the lovely view being Azriel. What brings you back in town? You're chasing after that tail? But Azriel doesn't see it like that. Burger Pants does. Burger Pants sees this as Des saying, oh no, he and I aren't really that close. What brings you back here, your little boyfriend? So he takes this as not only like propping him back up to the important title of childhood friend, but also acceptance that he is Azriel's boyfriend, that he means a lot more to Azriel than anyone else. So he kind of gets like this ego inflated, but Azriel is not taking it like this. Azriel thinks that Des is mocking just how shitty this world has become, just how run down and horrible. But this is the world this is Des's world, right? This is her world. This is the world that she's been protecting for a while. She's done the best that she possibly could. And how? She's kicked some ass. This is her world. She doesn't see anything wrong with it. Yeah, there's corruption, and she kind of messed up a few things. But, you know, she did a really damn good job, so she's proud of it. But Azriel isn't. Azriel has grown up in, like, the paradise world, where everything's still, like, great and happy, and everything's all great. Everything's all sunshine and roses. So, Azriel's thinking about just how miserable this world is, and how this world reflects the misery in his heart, and kind of laughs at that because he thinks she's being very condescending. He takes criticism and judgment a lot better than he does compliments, right? That's just how he is. So he could really vibe with this. So unwittingly, like, Des is playing both sides very well. And then Burger Pants kind of gets a change of heart about Des, and you know, he warms up to her, and he's like, yeah, no, you got me, I just follow Az wherever he takes me. And then he kind of thinks about that wording, and he goes, you know, because he's got a car. So he kind of corrects his language, and he kind of corrects his attitude, and he's like trying to make amends, like, you know, yeah, I think we can get along. I think this is fine. This is fine. You step down a little bit, I'll step down a little bit. We can make this work. We can make this work out. And so he opens a door and gestures for the young lady to go inside in the passenger seat, even though he was previously sitting at the passenger seat. No, she's the guest of honor. She could sit in the passenger seat and talk with Azzy, and he'll just go in the back and talk with the little sister or something. Azriel kind of scoffs at him because this is such an outdated thing, and he's just like, whatever, fine, you know, we'll play it your way. And then Azriel kind of flirts with him, and Burger Pants gets flustered, and then Des takes a couple stabs at Azriel. Oh, and we're hinting about the don't forget thing. I have no idea where this came up. I don't even know if it's like chat or something. but somebody kind of got the Don't Forget song. It's actually Des singing it. I don't know how to feel about that, but I kind of reference it here with like the biggest thing is Des saying "Don't forget." Like, don't forget us over here. You kind of just forsaked us in this place without a guardian, and I had to take up the, just twisting it a little bit instead of like this nice message. Don't forget, I'm here with you wherever you are. No, it's like, don't forget about us, you jackass. Like, literally, the next time you go into a dark world, I'll hunt your ass. Don't you dare forget about us here. And Azriel tries to skirt around the issue of him being gone so long.
Then Azriel thinking about their situation and how December was kind of just stranded in this world, and because she felt dutiful to Noelle, the Noelle of this world, specifically the Noelle of this world, who doesn't really have anybody, Des kind of remained in this world because Azriel fucked up, and her soul kind of got lost. But then he kind of saved her by taking her back to this world. She's a displaced soul as well. I think I mentioned that a little bit later. So her soul actually came from Burger Pants' world. So yeah, Azriel is thinking about how he kind of just abandoned December here, and she had to take over this guardian role, even though she doesn't have the powers of a guardian, not the full powers of a guardian, and she did the best that she could. He feels a little bit guilty, but he can't feel too guilty, because he had his own circumstances that he had to deal with, and this was all thrust upon him when he was a little kid, so he was still a kid when all this shit was going on, so he can't feel too guilty about it, and he can't regret it. He can't regret it because things turned out well. So he feels very guilty about what he did, but this isn't the world he feels an attachment to, right? These aren't the people that he got really attached to. And you see that happening with a lot of characters in here. Chris and Azriel and Ember, they all get attached to their own set of people, right? I mean, Des kind of had to make that decision, but this world's Noelle is the one that Ember, and this kind of did I talk about the displaced soul thing and how she had a change of name? She doesn't want to go by Des anymore. She goes by Ember because that's pretty much the second half of her name, Des and Ember. So she's Ember, which is like kind of the opposite of December also. So we kind of have that emo thing happening with her. She's a little bit edgy too. They're all in that very young adult edgy phase. So I like to play up that a little bit, how they're all just kind of stupid kids, but they're not quite teenagers anymore, but they're not really adults. They're kind of in that in-between phase, and it's really a shitty time in your life. So yeah, she goes by Ember in this, but this is just, this world's December is like that. I should only have called her Des in that one instance where Azriel was introducing her to Burger Pants, because that's what Burger Pants would have known her by. I know that he calls her December a couple times when he's really trying to get her attention, like trying to throw back that, yeah, you're Ember now, but I knew you back from when you were blah blah blah, which blah blah. I hate dead naming, but that's just kind of a thing that happens. Anyway, I wrote this all in the span of like, I don't know, 24 to 32 hours, I don't know, because I didn't start out writing, so it was really a lot less than that, but I kind of, within the span of like, I don't know, 24 to 32 hours, I got the idea from the post, and then I just started writing this, and I have a lot of mistakes in here, just like a lot of mistakes, and I'm like, you know what, fuck it, that's just how this is. This isn't really canon to let that sink in, but it is kind of is tangential to let that sink in, because it's the same lore, it's still what I would have gone with. Yeah, I still would have had, Burger Pants thinking that he's going to get very intimate with Azriel, and then Azriel pulls a fast one on him, and then they try to jet out of there, and they have all kinds of issues, and Azriel didn't harvest the soul right, and he's worried, and all that shit. It's pretty much the same stuff. It's just now I have a plot for them to go with, a little sidetrack for them to, a little side adventure for them to go on, which I would not have thought of otherwise.
God, I went off track. Yeah, so anyway, this was written very quickly. It has a lot of mistakes, it has a lot of spelling errors, and I do that thing that my tired brain usually does and uses the same word like 20 different times in the same paragraph. I think I have however is my that. Let that sink in, had that for 800 something words, right? That took up 800 words of the word count. I have not checked this one, but I'm pretty sure however was my thing because I put however for everything. Like every paragraph starts with however. I use the same phrase a million times in the same paragraph. That's just how it goes. This isn't my baby. I'm not too motivated. This is just something I shat out, and I'm kind of happy with it. I really am, but then also I'm not going to clean it up and polish it, because usually I polish things. I usually add like a quirk that one character does, and I comb through all the dialogue, and I make sure it shines. That one quirk for every character kind of shines. Azrael has this quirk, and Burger Pants has this quirk. I didn't do any of that shit. I didn't go back and polish it. That's why Burger Pants' dialogue is the way that it is. It's because it is my pre-polishing, my pre-putting that Burger Pants coat of hate on it. So he talks a little bit differently in this, but also whatever. That's just how Azrael hears him speak. Of course, Burger Pants would hear himself speak more self-importantly. He would think of himself as saying things a lot differently than he actually says them. He's attributing too much meaning to his words when really he's just spouting common shit. Anyway, we're in the car. So Azrael's distracted with all these thoughts about how he still considers Ember one of his closest friends, and how she's done a good job, and how even though they're kind of opposed, they should really stick together. Burger Pants doesn't really realize what the situation is. He still kind of thinks that there's a Chris in this world, right? There's a Noelle, there's a Des, there's a lot of the other people that he's looked for. So of course there has to be a Chris in this world. So that's what Burger Pants is thinking about, how Noelle looks really sad and really lonely, and he can't really talk to her without seeming creepy. So he just kind of stays in his lane, but he notices this sad little girl, like, is sitting in the back seat with him. And he's like, maybe Chris should come along with us, you know? Give her some company, everything. Then Azzy and Chris can make amends, and we can all have like a good time. We can all just have a good time together, all get along, everything happy-go-lucky. So that's what Burger Pants is thinking right now, because Burger Pants also wants to get along with Chris, right? Especially since Chris, like, oh god, Burger Pants owes so much debt to Chris. Azrael owes so much debt to Chris, but Burger Pants also owes so much debt to Chris, because Chris really helped Burger Pants out. Even though Chris was really pissed off at Azrael, they still helped Burger Pants out, and they still saved Azrael, and, you know, Burger Pants pretty much thinks he has Azrael in the bag now, that they've really got a real relationship now. He's waiting to, consummate their relationship. But other than that, he's got his wife. He's got his wife in the bag. That's just how it is. He's already got this relationship. As far as he's concerned, they're already married. They're already an official couple. And he wants to get along with the family, right? He wants to get along with his family. So, of course, he has to try to get along with Chris. And he was already dealing with those issues, but, he really sees Chris in a different light now, and he wants Azrael to make amends with them, and he wants to make amends with them, and Noelle's sad as all frick, so having someone close to her age range would be a good thing. So Burger Pants really thinks this is a good idea, not realizing that there's only one Chris, and that Chris is not in this world. So as far as Des and Noelle, everyone pretty much assumes that they're dead. You know, Toriel's having a rough time, and Asgore's having a rough time, and it's just one of those things, kind of like the Undertale thing, where everybody's just kind of like, oh, the human, yeah, the human, I remember the human. We don't talk about the human. So this is like a major faux pas to bring up. Azrael never would have guessed that this was the kind of topic of conversation that Burger Pants would willingly bring up.
he doesn't really think that Burger Pants and Chris get along too well. In fact, he pretty much knows from their previous interactions that Chris and Burger Pants don't really get along too well. So this kind of comes out of left field and blindsides Azrael, and also it's kind of like red alert, this is something you're not supposed to talk about, and Azrael's thinking, oh shit, I really need to explain things more in depth to Burger Pants about what's going on in this world, because it's not the same at all, and you're making things really awkward. But then Noelle kind of parses out what Burger Pants is thinking about, and she gets curious because in the hospital, okay, so I'm gonna just say it right now, in this canon, Ember has been taking this sad, precious Noelle of hers to see other people in dark worlds. She's kind of been fucking around with that, and that's why there's a lot of corruption in this world. She's been playing around too much and using all these powers she's not really meant to have, just to make Noelle happy, right? Just to make this Noelle happier. So she's bringing Noelle to a dark world just so that she can see Rudy and see her father again and all this stuff. But Noelle doesn't really know that. She thinks it's a dream, right? Just like in Deltarune. She thinks it's all a dream, and she kind of remembers having these dreams in the hospital and how weird that was, and like, nobody would believe her. Nobody would believe her that she's seeing her dead father in the hospital. It's very, it's kind of traumatizing to her. Honestly, Noelle is like the biggest trauma baby. Noelle's the biggest trauma baby. I love it. She doesn't think that anybody could believe her. And then here's Burger Pants insinuating that they can see Chris, right? She kind of parses out that, especially through the pronouns, that he's talking about Chris. So she's like, wait, you can see Chris? You can see dead people too? So she's kind of interested in seeing where this is gonna go, because she thought this was just like a crazy thing that happened to her. But Ember is kind of thinking along the lines of, oh shit, this is a dangerous topic to start bringing up. I am going to get in trouble for doing all this shit. So she tries to hush up Noelle, and Azrael is trying to hush up Burger Pants, because to Azrael, Burger Pants is speaking of the dead. He hasn't told Ember anything about Burger Pants, so she doesn't know that Burger Pants is from the other world, where Chris is. So Azrael's still trying to like feel out where him and Ember are before he starts dropping all those details, because that's really a weakness that could be taken advantage of, right? That Burger Pants means so much to him that he would steal him from another world and bring him to this one. Like that's really something that he wants to protect. So he hasn't quite delved into that subject yet. Both Azrael and Ember are trying to shut up their people so that the other person doesn't learn. So the other party doesn't learn this secret, right? This secret that they both have their own little secret that they're keeping from each other. And then Azrael tries to play Burger Pants off as a fool. Like, oh yeah, he can see apparitions that have long passed, but don't pay him any mind, haha, he's such a silly person. And Burger Pants takes this the way of, like, dismissing everything that Chris had gone to so that they could go to this point. Because Chris really did play, like, a pivotal role in getting them here. Yes, Azrael and Chris kind of fought about Azrael running off to this world, but Chris ultimately was the one who helped them be in this world scot-free, pretty much. Because, yeah, Azrael died, and yeah, Azrael has that wound, but it's not like there were any like horrible consequences. Like, everything was remedied in the end. He gets to live out his life now, pretty much. He gets to just like escape to this world like he wanted to, without very many complications. And that's all thanks to Chris, and Burger Pants can see that. And Burger Pants doesn't want this feud to go on, right? He wants to make him not only out of guilt, because Burger Pants really does feel like he brought a rift between Chris and Azrael. It kind of did. But that's not the only issues that they have. Am I recording? Oh, I'm recording, yay! Okay, anyway, Burger Pants thinks that Azrael's dismissing all this, like turning a cold shoulder, a blind eye to Chris, even though Chris helped them out so much. Just because of one petty little fight, Azrael's going to pretend that they don't even exist anymore. So Burger Pants has like this little justified outburst at Azrael, which he doesn't really, he doesn't really yell at Azrael like this too much. Not out loud. He will say his piece in his mind to himself, but he usually doesn't yell out loud at Azrael like this. And, of course, Burger Pants thinking about this stuff and rehashing it, we can see that it really does affect Azrael. As much as Azrael wants to say that he doesn't really care about Chris, they're still a meaningful part of his life. And I think I get into that a little bit later about the three people that are meaningful in Azrael's life. So we have the angel and the three monsters underneath them that are the three evils that they have to look out for. But the three evils aren't the opposition. They are just the angel's weakness. So for Azrael, that is Ember, Chris, and Burger Pants, of course. Anyway, Chris is part of that trifecta, and even though Azrael doesn't want to care, they still do care. They still do care. So while Azrael can kind of see where this outburst is coming from, this is not appropriate to bring up in front of Noelle. This really isn't appropriate to bring up in front of Noelle, who assumes that Chris is dead. So Azrael just kind of tries to shut him up and calm him down so that they can just have this nice little beach trip, and promises him that they will talk it over. And God, he really will talk it over with Burger Pants later. He definitely will. He definitely will have that talk. Burger Pants does not like their long, serious talks. But, this, more than anything, convinces Noelle that Burger Pants is speaking the truth, so she kind of pries into that. Like, okay, I believe you. You can see Chris, then how about my dad? You can see my dad? How is he? And then this makes Burger Pants think about how Rudy is doing. And, I did not put it in the fic. In fact, it's not even Let That Sink In lore. It is me talking about what I didn't put in Let That Sink In. So, what I didn't put in Let That Sink In is that Rudy and Asgore have been having a side fling for years, and Rudy got injuries because Asgore was, Ride-em Cowboy, and it was a little bit too much. It was a little bit too much. So Burger Pants has this image, like, permanently plastered in his head once he found out what was happening. He has this very graphic image of Asgore in his head, like, extremely graphic, and that's what he kind of thinks about when the subject of Rudy comes up. He completely projects this into Azrael's mind, and once again, Azrael's driving, and he has this flash of a very graphic image of Asgore in his head, and he's like, holy shit, what are you doing, dude? No, I don't want to see this, please, why are you doing this to me? So Azrael's distracted. He can't stop this conversation from happening. Burger Pants keeps going on, and he's talking about how Rudy's doing well, but Rudy's the happiest whenever Noelle visits him in the hospital, you know, trying to butter Noelle up a little bit. Like, yeah, he's doing alright, but you know, you really mean the world to him. You're the sunshine in his life, so you should go visit him in the hospital, which Rudy's dead, and for Noelle to visit him in the hospital, it's not a good thing for him to say. It's definitely not a good thing for him to say. So Amber absolutely freaking curses at him, and Azrael shouts out, I don't remember which one it is that I had in my head, but it's either Burger Pants or Burger Buns, and he shouts out this name trying to shut Burger Pants up, and Burger Pants kind of gets distracted by that, like, wait, what'd you just call me? Burger Pants? Where did this come from? And he kind of thinks about how all of his nicknames pretty much came from Azrael. Pretty much every single freaking nickname, except for Piss Boy, but actually Piss Boy too. But every freaking nickname that he has like all these millions of nicknames that pretty much came from Azrael. It's absolutely hilarious. Even Little Dude, which got shortened to Little D, which I don't know if you know, but D is slang for dick. So that kind of explains the joke from earlier. And you don't really want to be called Little Dick in front of people. So anyway, So all this shit is going on. Burger Pants is thinking about nicknames. Des is thinking about how Burger Pants is leading them down this conversation about the Dark World, and she does not want to have this conversation with Azrael right now. She does not want to be put on the spotlight for doing all kinds of shit she knows she shouldn't be doing, and how Noelle has been visiting her dad, and also the whole thing about go visit your dad at the hospital. No, this is just way too much. So everybody in this car is having a miserable time, except Noelle finally gets the closure that she needs. She finally gets somebody who understands that this weird thing that has happened to her is something that has happened to other people, and she's not just going crazy. So Noelle is just like completely relieved and starts bursting out crying. She's just so beside herself, and Azrael thinks that Burger Pants caused this poor child to cry. You know, car rides, and let that sink in, or they're the worst. Don't get in a car with these people. You will not have a fun time. Every single time. Nobody has a good car ride in this. It's just like when in this, Azrael says, you don't have to worry. Some big misunderstanding is about to happen. Some big misunderstanding has already happened. Burger Pants kind of thinks about everything and kind of realizes, oh shit, her father's dead. Oh, that kind of makes sense now. And he's thinking about this poor little kid and how he kind of also compares Noelle to Chris, but he also has a really soft spot because Burger Pants has always wanted a younger sibling. Burger Pants is the baby of the bunch. He's always been kind of picked on by everybody else, and then he's always kind of been like the favorite of his mom. So there's all that to deal with. He's always wanted to have like this younger sibling who would look up at him and idolize him. And so he kind of really has a soft spot for Noelle, who is kind of like this younger sister figure that he's never had in his life. So he's sitting there like trying to comfort her, and Burger Pants kind of does the Azrael thing, or he's saying something to someone, but he's also using a double meaning. So we see Azrael kind of steals Burger Pants' jokes, Azrael kind of steals Burger Pants' wording about some things, and now we see Burger Pants starting to take over some of Azrael's wording as well. He does this like little double meaning wink wink nudge nudge thing, where he goes, sometimes it's okay to believe in strange things. Our hearts can sense something that our minds don't. That's why it's important to have faith and believe in the people that are most important to you. So he is talking about his own experience with Azrael and talking about how, yeah, shit fucking crazy. I can't believe all the shit that Azrael has told me, and apparently it was all true. But you know, what really brought me through this is just having faith and believing in him, and I'll continue to believe in him for as long as he'll have me. Like that kind of thing. He's kind of doing that Azrael flirt thing, but Azrael does not see it like this at all. Azrael thinks that Burger Pants is being up his own ass, so Azrael's kind of criticizing him for this. But it really does. Noelle sees this as a comforting thing. No, it's okay to believe in the strange things that you've seen. It's important to believe in your loved ones, because that's what really lets their memory live on. So he really placates Noelle, and Azrael just sees him as an asshole. He's actually trying to flirt with Azrael, and Ember's just fine with it, you know. At least he patched things up, so everything's good. And by patching things up, not just patching things up with Noelle, but kind of got them off this topic. So she kind of gives props to Burger Pants for this. Everything is all settled and good just because of Burger Pants' bullshit, which is usually the opposite. Azrael's usually the one who has to clean everything up, but Burger Pants did a good job with this. Burger Pants did a good job clearing things up. And the car ride doesn't end here. Of course not. This is just what was important to Azrael's account of what happened. But Noelle and Burger Pants kind of get along, and they start talking, and again, getting into little sister vibes, and he finally has like this little sister figure in his life, and he's kind of happy about that. And he talks about how he really hasn't been to the beach before, and he talks to Noelle, and she starts telling him some things, and they start making plans, and as soon as they get out of the car, they rush off and do their own thing, and they're like trying to catch crabs, and they're looking for sand dollars. and pretty seashells, and they climb up on the rocks and try to look for minnows and build sand castles. They're just like having the time of their life, and it's really fulfilling to Burger Pence that he's able to, this sad little girl, within the span of like 30 minutes, she's like smiling and laughing and giggling and having fun like a child her age should, and it kind of elates him, like he means something to somebody, not just Azrael, but he means something to other people, and so he's really having fun. He's really digging this. Meanwhile, Azrael is being the bitter little bean that he is, and he's sitting under the shade of this beach umbrella with Ember, who also chooses not to have any fun out here, because what fun is there in the scorching hot sun, and the burning hot sand, and the broken beer bottles, and the jellyfish. They are so jaded. They can't really see the beauty in life anymore, right? They're kind of stuck in their own little worlds. And that's what makes them relate to each other. That's really what makes them relate to each other. So Ember's just kind of watching and seeing Noelle like laughing and skipping and having fun, and she thinks it's not too bad. That Burger Pence really isn't like the worst guy. It's kind of a shame that he is the way he is. She definitely thinks of Burger Pence as a loser. I'm not even gonna lie. She kind of thinks of him as a little bit of a loser. I did have a line about that, but I cut it out. But he's a good person. That's what she finally came to realize. Like, he could have this effect on Noelle that not even she had on Noelle. She's kind of grateful, and she's a little bit interested too. Like, how did this come to be? How did the weirdo who ran back to the city when we were kids, how did you meet back up with this guy? Like, I never would have thought to meet back up with this guy ever. What made you think about him? And that's when Azrael kind of decides to trust her, right? He kind of wants to rebuild that friendship that they had. And so he kind of lets her in on his secrets, and he's like, yeah, actually, I brought him from this other world. He is a displaced soul. I did the same thing with him that I did with you. I brought him over here, I got him a new body, and now he's a resident here. I let him know all of my secrets, and for whatever reason, he wasn't scared away. He kept standing by my side. I really grew used to that, and now I can't help myself. I'm constantly telling this guy all my secrets, and he still hasn't run away. And then, December kind of catches on to the fact that he's a displaced soul, and she's like, How? How are you able to do all this shit? You should not have this much power. You barely have any control over this hometown. How did you take somebody from another world and bring them all the way over here without any problems? And if you have all that power, then why did I have to go through all this shit for 10 years? Why did I have to... It wasn't 10 years. It really wasn't. It was a lot less, but I'm just calling it a decade because it's so easy. But I don't really know, like 7 years maybe? It hasn't been like super freaking long. Let's see, what age are they? See, this is why I don't want to say an exact thing. They're about, Azrael would be about 19-ish. So yeah, okay, around that age, around 7 years is good. Anyway, Ember's thinking about all the hot water she would be in for all the shit that she's been doing behind everybody's back, right? Manipulating things and abusing powers that really aren't hers, but she kind of can manipulate because of her status. And also, like, fucking around with dark worlds. I know everybody's working theory is that Queen is a mother figure to Noelle. My personal headcanon that is not canon, to let that sink in, nor this little sidetrack, but my running thought, and this isn't set in stone, this is just a thought, but I am more inclined to think that that's a sister figure and not really a mother figure. So my thought was, what if Queen is Des's laptop? What if that? Because she really, she's really protective of Noelle, but then she also does like these really annoying things and doesn't really get it, just like an older sister wouldn't. I mean, I guess a mom wouldn't really get it either, but that's the kind of energy I have, right? Is that, this is a Des. I think this is a Des and not really a Mayor Holiday. Though we don't know what Mayor Holiday is like. Maybe she really is a character. But I see Mayor Holiday more as this cold-hearted person. Like, literally, that's where Noelle gets the ice from. But yeah, like that, mischievous, self-centered, but still trying to help out kind of person. I definitely see Des more as a queen. I mean, I see Queen more as a Des. So that was my working little thought, is that Queen is Des's old laptop that she gave to Noelle. Right, that was from Dark Worlds, and Ember fucking around with Dark Worlds and trying to make Noelle happy. And how this would land her in a lot of hot water. She's not supposed to be doing this shit, but she's doing this shit anyway. So she's like, yeah, you can just break all the rules you want to, but the rest of us get in trouble. But you never were the kind to play fair. I'm sure you know how cheats and liars are. So that's another headcanon I have. I see Des more as like this really big safist. Like, she's really girl crazy. She's really into girls, and she kind of has that thing where boys are icky and gross. And I kind of had this thought about how like Des and Azriel kind of became friends, and you know, Azriel kind of had Chris around with them, and Chris and Noelle kind of got along. They were around the same age, but Des was under the impression that Azriel was a girl, and she kind of just got like super devastated when she learned that Azriel was a boy, and just like her whole world like crumbled. She's like, no, why do you have to be a boy? No, like, I don't even know why I'm talking about this. Right, I'm just talking about the characterization of Ember. So anyway, Ember's talking about how boys are cheats and liars and they always get away with everything, and Azriel's like, no, I realized all the shit that I put you through. It's not like I intended to just come back here and everything will be the same. I'll definitely reward you in any way that I possibly can. You can think of any blessing that you possibly want me to bestow. I'll take care of everything from here on out. Anyway, how have you been? How are you doing? What's happening with you? Like, he's trying to, you know, rekindle that friendship, but Ember kind of sees this as questioning, like, things aren't exactly peachy keen over here. I did the best I could, but there's still a great deal of corruption in this world. I'm sure that's what you're trying to question me about, right? So she's being a little bit defensive, and Azriel kind of like reassures her, I've seen that you've done the best that you could, and you really didn't ask to be put in this situation, and you're not gonna have to bear this burden anymore. I'll take back up my role, and I won't be leaving this world if at all possible. I'm gonna try to make things right from here on out. Just as long as I have my lover by my side. That's all I really need. And we're planning on settling down here, so you don't have to worry. Which gets Des off the hook. She doesn't have to explain the whole corruption thing. So now she's curious. He finally comes back here with his lover. What the frick happened? What happened? Because this guy's been gone for like ever, and all of a sudden, not only is he doing this thing he didn't want to do, Azriel absolutely did not want to come back to this world, didn't want to be the guardian of this hometown. He absolutely did not want to stay here. He worked so hard to fight to get out of here, and all of a sudden he's coming back here, and he's going to stay here because this is where his lover is. Like, it's very freaking strange. How did this happen? Which, he didn't even meet his lover here, so what the frick is going on? And Azriel doesn't really tell very much. Azriel's just like, yeah, he makes me happy. And she's like, he makes you happy. And that's why you came back to this world, and you're going to take up the role that you were dead set against, that you ditched me for almost a decade here to do. No, you're at least going to spill the beans and tell me every freaking little detail about this stupid little relationship, because now you have me invested. And once again, Azriel doesn't really say very much. He kind of just skirts over it. I noticed him, he noticed me, we got along. I feel at peace with him. And they're still watching over Burger Pants and Noelle, because that's the kind of person Ember is. Ember has taken up this role of the protector, so she's always watching out and looking out and noticing people who are coming in and going out and where they're going, what they're doing. She actually really likes this guardian role. As much as she acts like she really hates it, she really likes this and kind of wants the powers to be a guardian. that's kind of what she wants. She wants to be the guardian of a realm, but obviously it's Azriel who has that power, and so that's what she's interested in doing. That's what she's interested in doing, especially to protect her loved ones, right? Because she feels very resentful to Azriel, who doesn't want this power, but he has this power to protect everyone that he loves, and he's not even using it, and he doesn't want to use it. Are you stupid? Why are you seeing this as a burden? This is a blessing, and if you don't want it, then pass it along to someone else. But she's not quite there yet. She's not quite at that level of openness with Azriel just yet. But yeah, she's like constantly watching over them and making sure that Noelle's okay, and she's taking some burger pens too, and they're like playing around and being stupid and trying to catch bugs and playing around with seagulls, and Burger Pants like immediately just like falls down face first into the sand, and Noelle's like very worried about him, like, oh no, you got hurt. And she's like trying to struggle to help him up, and it's just like this super funny, heartwarming scene. But to them, it's just like Burger Pants being this huge idiot who can't even stand up right without falling. That's when Ember makes her little quip about Burger Pants being the only peace of mind between them, as in your lover's a little bit stupid, isn't he? And that's when Azriel comes on the defensive. It kind of lets Ember know, if only you could read his thoughts, as in, I can read his thoughts, and if only you could read his thoughts, you would know he definitely has a fascinating mind, for sure. And that gets Ember intrigued, because, man, wouldn't that be a great power to ask for? Being able to read thoughts, but that's something different entirely. That is not a blessing that Azriel can bestow. But then Azriel kind of just dodges the subject again, and he goes into how much he loves Burger Pants, right? He just keeps talking about all these stupid qualities that he loves about Burger Pants. He loves him so much, about how he keeps pushing forward and he doesn't really have regrets. He just goes with the punches, and he gives in easily to temptation, and he kind of brings Azriel with him in doing so. Kind of pushes Azriel to play around and have fun as well. Like, really take in life, even though he's so jaded and so world-weary, and he's so tired and exhausted, and he hates everything, except when he's around Burger Pants, then he loves everything, and you can see the joy in life, and he gets to actually, like, play around and have fun and act like a little child again. So he's trying to describe this to her, and Ember is listening to all this, and she's getting really jealous, because, Ember has a really big crush on a celebrity, and she has been rejected. And not just once, she has been rejected quite a few times, and it's really frustrating to her, and she still hasn't found her way, she still hasn't worked things out with love, and she's got Noelle by her side, and Noelle takes priority, of course. Unlike with Azriel, Noelle takes priority in Ember's life. So that's why she says, man, this is why I envy the losers of the world. When you've never had a victory in life, you never know the bitter taste of defeat. And she is talking about Azriel. She is calling Azriel a freaking loser. And you've never really been rejected. You don't have to know what that tastes like. You just get whatever you like free. You went through the easy pickings and you got it instantly. You'll never know how it feels to have your heart absolutely crushed by someone. But Azriel doesn't take it this way at all. Azriel thinks that Ember is calling Burger Pants a loser. And that's when Azriel's like, what are you saying? Of course Burger Pants has had victories in life. You wouldn't consider him bagging me as a victory? Like, he's not a loser. And Ember's kind of taken aback like this, like, what? Of course it isn't a victory. He's at a loss. You freaking asshole. You guys are a match made in hell. She sees Azriel as this confident, kind of narcissistic person. And it's not that Azriel isn't self-centered. It's that he's self-centered in this kind of self-loathing way, and not in a narcissistic way. So, she thinks he's bragging about himself, and she's trying to knock him down a peg. But Azriel sees this as Ember truly getting him, truly understanding that he is this blight upon his loved ones, right? And she sees that, she sees him for who he really is. So this kind of seals the deal that, yeah, I really trust her, and I kind of want her to be a part of our lives, and this is a really good trip. I'm so glad I did this. And meanwhile, Burger Pants is, like, drowning in the ocean. Anyway, but Azriel is absolutely delighted, and he's so happy, and he's like, yeah, actually, I think I'm going to open up to you, and I'm going to let you in my life. And he starts talking all this shit about how he doesn't really deserve Burger Pants, and how Burger Pants gets him in a way that Burger Pants shouldn't get him, and his heart is sobbing, and he can't scratch that itch, and he doesn't know what to do, and once again, he gets really freaking personal with Ember about their sex lives, pretty much. And she is just absolutely not paying attention to him anymore. Once he starts being a whiny little bitch, she just completely tunes him out. So she's completely tuning him out and not listening to him whining, and she's not really even caring. She's just kind of making sure that Noelle is okay. She kind of sees everything that's happening, and she kind of notices that Burger Pants can't really swim, but he's doing alright. Everything's doing fine. He's back up on his feet and everything. It's all good. Anyway, the last thing she heard, kind of like Burger Pants, she kind of just tuned in at the last moment, whatever the last thing Azriel said. I never fail to disappoint, and she kind of takes this as I never fail in doing this, that, or the other thing. I always succeed at everything I do, kind of thing. Like, she kind of tunes him out when he's whining, because she thinks it's like a humble brag, pretty much. Like, he's bragging about himself. So she hears him talking about how he's succeeding about something, but what he's succeeding at is disappointing. So she did not catch what he was saying. Anyway, she tunes back in. She's like, oh, you succeeded at everything. That must be so sad for your lover. Did you know there's nothing more attractive than a failure? Which, she's talking about herself. She's talking about herself, and she's also talking about the situation that she's in. She's kind of like hyping herself up. And this, she kind of hints at her role, right? She kind of hints at how she kind of wants to be the guardian of hometown. She kind of wants that role. And how her being a guardian has kind of opened up her eyes about the things that she could do and the things that she wants to do in her life. So she says, what does she say? There's nothing in this world more gratifying than having someone who relies on you. Which Azriel feels the opposite way. Azriel feels absolutely suffocated having people constantly rely on him. But that's not how Ember feels. Ember has a little bit of that self-conscious thing too. Not as much. Definitely not as much. She's fairly confident, but she has those times when she thinks that she doesn't really fit in and she's not needed. But that's what kind of makes her take up this protector role, because then when she has this role, of course, people are depending on her, and people look up to her and see her as this person that can be depended on, and she really likes that for herself. She really likes being depended on. Then it kind of falls into silence as they're both kind of thinking about their own things. And they're still watching over like a Burger Pants and Noelle, just having the time of their lives at this beach. And Azriel's thinking about Burger Pants, how he's not even paying attention to what's happening over here. Like, this guy is so self-conscious. He thinks that Azriel's going to leave him for every little thing, but then Azriel doesn't even join him in the beach, and he's sitting off to the side with this beautiful lady, and Burger Pants isn't jealous at all. He's not even nosing into their business. He's not even looking over or caring. He's just so wrapped up in doing whatever he wants, and he's just so naive and so trusting, and it's so endearing. And he's thinking about that, how those are the best qualities that a person can have, right? There's nothing better than that. So he's thinking about that and how he wants to keep Burger Pants with him. And actually, he kind of does want to try to have a family with him, at least to keep him around for a little bit longer. So that's when he decides to broach this subject. And Azriel's kind of like, don't you think he would make a great father? Because he's able to get along with Noelle so much, and though they have like nothing in common, he's still able to like go down to her level and really get her to shine. When just earlier in that day, it was like a funeral procession. She was like so down in the dumps and so overwhelmed with grief, and all of a sudden she's back to her normal self. And that's just something that Burger Pants is really good with. He's really good at making other people happy. He might be frustrated and make a fool out of himself, but he's good at making other people happy, and especially Azriel. And it would be a shame not to take advantage of that, right? Burger Pants wants a family, and he wants Burger Pants, so he kind of entertains this idea. So yeah, he's starting to broach this conversation with Ember and testing the waters and see how she reacts. But of course, Ember isn't thinking about any of that right now. She is so far from all of that. She's thinking that this is great. Burger Pants could definitely like watch Noelle for her. And she could go off and have fun and shoot her shot and try to get a love of her own, right? She hasn't really had very much luck yet, but now that Azzy's back and he's going to take over this role for a little bit, then she can kind of relax and do her own thing, kind of live for herself now. Now there's another person in their lives that she can kind of depend on. She can kind of trust Burger Pants to watch over Noelle, and that doesn't seem like a problem. So she's sitting there formulating all these ideas in her head now to just go be off on her own for a little while, feel out things for herself, and try to get her life on track, because she's a little bit jealous, right? She kind of wants to find the love of her life too. So the furthest thing in her mind that she would be thinking about right now is having a child, and then Azriel comes in with, "I'm serious about Burger Pants. I think that he's the one destined for me, and no matter how close he is, it's still not enough. He's always wanted a family, and if I have a kid, then I'll age faster, and then I get to grow old with him, so it's a win-win situation. And of course, that would make you an official part of our family, so we could all just be one big happy family together. What do you think about that?" And this is just like the stupidest thing in the world, right? Because he barely knows her. He doesn't really know the current her. He knows like nothing about them and this world. He has been gone for like ever, and he's just plopping back in like nothing has changed, and he's asking her for a child, which again I kind of see her as this like siren, kraken, sea creature, cryptid. My headcanon is that she would have eggs, so it's not like a really big deal. But still, it's kind of like, the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? And that's pretty much what Ember says. What the fuck? Where is this coming from, dude? Really? I'm the one you ask? Why the fuck are you asking me this? And why are you asking me this now? This makes absolutely no sense. Have you gone off your rocker? Yeah, and then she gives him an earful about that. I did have the thing about, Azriel kind of becoming his father, and that's, I guess if I don't spell everything out, it doesn't get said, so I should spell everything out. Right, because I did not put that in this fic. So in this fic, Toriel has been extremely, very protective of Azriel, and has tried to raise him in such a way that he is protected from his responsibilities, but still hones his powers, stays away from doing things at an age younger than he should be doing them, and accidentally having a child, and accidentally growing older, and she's not explaining all these things to him. She's just protecting him from those things. And then there was the whole Asgore thing in this fic that only happened in my head and not in the fic. But the thing that happened in my head was that Asgore had this fling with Rudy around the time that Azriel kind of fucked up with his harvester duties and had a little bit of a backlash, and Asgore kind of took the fall. Asgore kind of felt guilty because that's his little baby son getting in trouble, and also he was definitely fucking around with Rudy, and this kind of gets found out, and Desk goes missing, and Asgore and Toriel just totally separate. And while Asgore is really heartbroken about this, Asgore's not going to deny himself anything, right? He's not going to stop himself from having fun with Rudy, and he's not going to stop himself from getting back together with Toriel. That's just the kind of guy he is. Like, in my head, he's the poly dude. He just wants everybody to get along, and, you know, get along. But Toriel, of course, is having none of this, and Asgore had a family, and he pretty much ruined that family in Toriel's eyes. So, she's trying to protect her kids and trying to make sure that they don't grow up like him, and that's pretty much what Azriel has become. He's running away from his duties, he's fucking things up, he's not doing things right. He got in a relationship with somebody that he should not have been in a relationship with, and if Ember does become his surrogate, then it's pretty much repeating the same situation over again. We have Rudy's daughter, Ember, Rudy's daughter, becoming the surrogate. He's also going into this, like, he's also, like, having a child in this non-monogamous family, and having a male lover on the side, just like the exact thing that Toriel did not want him to grow up to be. So that's what that line means. Anyway, we are going back to, Ember absolutely setting him straight. Like, don't even entertain these ideas. You can't just decide these kind of things on a whim. You actually have to be serious about this shit. You just want to play house with your boyfriend right now. You're absolutely not ready to have a child. You don't even understand what responsibility is like. You ran away from all your responsibilities. If you really want a child, then let's see what happens in 7 years when you're going to have to be responsible. And then that kind of, blindsides Azriel, like, absolutely blindsides him, because he was not expecting Ember to have this much knowledge about what's really going on in the world, right? So that's when he kind of really gets respect for her, and then she becomes one of his 3 big adversaries in his life. So yeah, Azriel kind of gets respect for Ember a lot more after this interaction. He's not put off at all. Actually, he's kind of grateful that she reacted in this way. It just goes to show that there's a lot of trust between them, and he really can trust her, and he really can have her be a part of his life. Then he gets this ping from Burger Pants, and he's kind of curious about that, like, what the frick is happening? Because, back when, Azriel kind of first woke up and was explaining this world and what was happening to Burger Pants, he bestowed Burger Pants with this ability, which is pretty much a text message alert, an Amber alert, to notify Azriel of whenever Burger Pants needs him, pretty much. Just to say, help, I'm in trouble, I need you. It's just a little protection, and of course, there's no burden, there's no backlash, like, give me 1 kiss every year, every month, or whatever, or else your punishment is going to be that I will be sad, or something stupid like that. You know, it's not like a really serious thing, it's not like a really big burden. He just grants him this power so that he will be able to contact him. But it's not like reading thoughts or anything major like that. It is just like, if you need me, this is how the emergency contact works. Because, of course, this also shows that Azriel thinks that Burger Pants is going to leave him, and he's giving him that way so that if Burger Pants ever gets in trouble, of course Azriel will be there for him. Azriel will get him out of that trouble. But of course, Burger Pants doesn't go anywhere. He played for keeps. He's played for keeps this whole time. Azriel is his life now, and that's, and this is just the honeymoon phase, right? They're just in the honeymoon phase of their little relationship. He's absolutely not going anywhere. But Azriel gave him this ability, right? And he talks about how Burger Pants doesn't even know how to use this ability. The only time that he's used it was when him and Burger Pants were getting really hot and heavy, and instead of like shouting Azriel's name, he's just pinging this guy, which is a power that you really shouldn't abuse. He's being very lenient on Burger Pants, not giving him this burden, right? He's being very lenient, not giving any burden to Burger Pants, so he's granting him this ability and facing all the consequences for it, and what Burger Pants is pretty much doing is like stirring his soul in this very intimate context. So Azriel is like extremely flattered because this guy is like pretty much calling out to him with his soul in the middle of them being intimate. Like, how flattering is that? Like, you are pleasing your partner so much that he's screaming out to you with his very soul, but then also Azriel has to face the backlash of this. It's both a blessing and a curse. And so now Azriel has that association with them getting a little bit dirty, with them messing around. So he feels this ping, and immediately he has this reaction like, oh shit, where did this come from? And then he kind of looks over to Burger Pants' way, and Burger Pants is like in the frickin' ocean again, and stressed the frick out, has like one of those Burger Pants expressions on his face. You know the one. He has that Burger Pants expression on his face, and he's like trying to get Azriel to notice him and wave him over, like, come here dude, I kinda need you. And that's kind of what makes Azriel think that Burger Pants actually does know how to use his power, because he's sitting there calling him over, so he knows that he pinged him, right? He knows. But no, Burger Pants is just stupid and clueless and is like mentally trying to send messages to Azriel so that Azriel will look over his way, because Azriel really hasn't been paying attention that much. Azriel gets lost in his own thoughts and the thoughts of everyone else. Azriel's not paying attention that Burger Pants has almost drowned in the ocean for the second time. He gets swept up by this wave, and he feels like something's like pulling down on him, and he's like trying to get his bearings straight, and he loses his freaking trunks, and he's like he can't get out of the ocean. He's stuck there now. There's nothing he can do, so he's sitting there like trying not to call attention to himself, because Noelle has been right there with him like this whole trip, and now he's like, I can't really have her getting close to me right now, and that's not a good situation, but so I can't really ask her for help or anything, so I'm just gonna pretend to be like swimming off on my own. But Azriel, I really freaking need you right now. Help me out, man. I'm not in a good way right now, bruh. So he's trying to get Azriel's attention to bail him out, and it works. He pings him, which really flusters Azriel. But he goes over. This is what the power's for. The power's for whenever Burger Pants needs help. So he goes over to see what's happening. At first he thinks like Burger Pants is just fucking around. He doesn't really think that there's anything wrong. It doesn't look like anything's obviously wrong. But he goes over there anyway, and then Burger Pants just kind of has to explain it to him, and he's like super freaking embarrassed. And he's talking about what happened and how he lost his shorts, and how he's not sure what he's going to do because it's a really bad situation. But Azriel's not thinking about any of that. What Azriel's thinking about right now is Burger Pants is extremely vulnerable. He's not going to go anywhere, and he doesn't have any pants on right now, so he is naked. He is absolutely naked right now. So Azriel has some plans of his own, which leads us to the next scene. Oh, wait, no, I have to talk about it. Earlier in the fic, Azriel's being kind of flirty with Burger Pants, and he thinks to himself that Burger Pants wants some kind of disaster to come crashing down and sweep the pants right off of him. And that's exactly what happens. A freaking wave comes down and crashes on Burger Pants and sweeps the pants right off him. This is Azriel's doing, regardless if Azriel knows it or not. He really does have that power. Absolutely hilarious. To me it's hilarious. Once again, Azriel is absolutely clueless. He's just so absolutely freaking clueless. But in a different way than Burger Pants. He can read people's thoughts, but he's not really aware of where their hearts and minds are. You know, like he can kind of interpret things, but he doesn't always interpret them correctly. So he really is shitty at reading people. Alright, so there's this thing in Chinese literature, especially like the gay stuff. You're not allowed to have gay sex scenes in literature. It is banned. So how a lot of people work around this is they have very suggestive scenes. So we never go into any details, but this guy is sitting on this other guy's lap, and he makes a lot of loud noises, and there's this pa sound, this very repetitive sound of skin-on-skin contact, and you can work out the context of what's actually happened. You know what's going on, but it's the wording is so that nothing is explicit. We talk of body organs as a bird or a sea monster or something like that. We don't call things by their technical names, so it's all perfectly PG. It's all perfectly PG. If you don't know the context, it's very strange, but there's nothing explicit. But you know what's going on. So I kind of have that here, where it's not explicit, and if you don't know, and if you're innocent, you won't see anything weird with this scene. This scene reads fine as it is. But it's a little bit naughty. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit naughty because you can't skirt around this stuff when they're freaking on their honeymoon. This is their honeymoon age. Of course they're gonna go freaking wild. And Azrael does not shy around the physical stuff. He might not be obsessed with sex like Burger Pants is, the concept of sex, but he definitely wants to get physical with Burger Pants. Burger Pants is interested in trying all kinds of things out, but Azrael is interested in only trying things out with the context of Burger Pants, specifically with Burger Pants. He's very into the physical side, but only with his partner. Like, not even really fantasizing about things, just the physical side with Burger Pants. So anyway, we switch to Ember, right? Ember's like looking at everything, as she always does, and she sees Burger Pants, and he's just like flailing around and screaming and going crazy, and she thinks he's like super stupid. Why don't you just walk to shore? What the frick are you doing? And Azrael's also stupid, going out there to save him, but Azrael is like barely even close to the guy. Like, he's not even really trying to save Burger Pants. What the frick are they doing? Is Azrael like tormenting him by like toying with him, like, oh, I don't know, you might drown, dude, you might drown. Azrael is fucking around with him, but not in that way. He's not really torturing him. Burger Pants is not really unhappy. But anyway, she sees this going on, and Burger Pants is like being absolutely freaking desperate, and she's like, oh, this is kind of sad now. He looks like he's really scared, like he really has a problem. And that's when she sees Azrael kissing him, and that just like freaking blows her mind. Like, she was not expecting this, right? She kind of had it in the back of her mind that they were a couple, but she wasn't really thinking about that. And then she sees them kissing and she's like, oh fuck, this is real. They really are lovers. They really are a couple. Like, Azrael's really going for it. What the fuck? Like, he is actually really into this guy, into this little like sleazeball. But of course, what's really happening is Azrael is taking advantage of the situation, right? Burger Pants is vulnerable and already clinging to him, and Azrael kind of got a little bit ruffled from being pinged earlier, and so he kind of has these thoughts. And Burger Pants has no pants right now, and they kind of didn't finish what they started earlier because they really had to go. They really didn't have their fill of everything earlier because they had to leave, right? And they kind of left off a little bit unsatisfied. So Azrael decides to play around with him, right? And he just like starts messing around and feeling Burger Pants up, and Burger Pants is just like super freaking frustrated. Then that leads to Azrael actually getting a little bit more intimate with him, like giving him a freaking hand job in the water, and Burger Pants is just like so beside himself. What the frick are you doing? There are people right there. Why are you doing this right here, right now? But he also doesn't really want to fight it because he's also very into this. Azrael completely blindsides him every time that Azrael wants him. Burger Pants does not think that he is desirable. He also thinks that he is like this ugly blob of a person, but it doesn't really bother Burger Pants too much, whatever. It's a rotten hand, but you can only do so much, right? And that's what Burger Pants thinks about it. But he does not think that he is desirable to Azrael. And then for Azrael to not only come on to him, but come on to him really this strongly, Burger Pants is absolutely beside himself, and he's really into it, but he's also like, there are girls right over there. What are you doing? They're going to see. They're going to hear. I definitely don't want to be made a fool of again, especially not in front of them, especially since he's had such a good time, like, bonding with Noelle, and this is just totally going to ruin it. But also, he's really into this thing with Azrael. He is really into this thing with Azrael, so he's, like, clinging to him and screaming and stuff, and Azrael's just having the freaking time of his life, right? Of course, Burger Pants is completely freaking miserable, and Azrael's having the time of his life. He's like super elated. He doesn't give a shit what anybody thinks or if anybody's noticing, which of course, Ember kind of notices, but Ember doesn't really get what's going on. She just thinks that Azrael is just like, Azrael is just kind of like, oh, you might drown, I don't know. Oh, here, let me help you. Nope, you might drown, I don't know. But no, Azriel's really going for it, and Burger Pants just like caves into pleasure. He's getting really into this, and before before Burger Pants can make some really obvious noises, Azriel decides to muffle him with a kiss, and that's the kiss that Des sees. Anyway, so Azriel literally toys around with Burger Pants, and Burger Pants is just absolutely freaking weak, and he really might drown. He's like clinging onto Azriel, and he's still extremely bothered and extremely worried about what's going to happen and how they're going to get out of this situation and how he's going to be able to save face and not embarrass himself in front of these girls, because then he has no freaking pants and he doesn't even know how much everybody's seen. He's just like super embarrassed, super mortified, and he's not sure what to do. And that's when Azriel's like, dude, just let me carry you, and then when we get back to shore, I can wrap my jacket around your waist, it'll all be good. And Burger Pants is like, no, absolutely not. No, because no matter which way that Azriel carries him, he will still be exposed in some way. He does not want to be exposed at all, especially not in front of these new friends, right? He just made some new friends. He does not want to embarrass himself like that. He doesn't even want them to see his butt, much less any private areas. So he is like completely freaking mortified, and he is so against this. And since Azriel thinks that it's okay to go parading around without his swim trunks, then maybe Azriel could be kind enough to give him his swim trunks. And that's when Azriel's like, no, I'm super freaking turned on right now. I definitely need the swim trunks more than you do, dude. Which absolutely freaking breaks Burger Pants. Like, his brain freaking shatters. Like, he cannot believe it. He just can't believe it that this guy is actually turned on. Like, even though he knows, right? He knows this isn't even the first time that they've messed around, but it still gets to him every single time. He just cannot believe that Azriel Dreamer actually wants him. He just does not believe that at all. And he still wants to mess around. He still wants to go mess around with him. And he's just like overwhelmed. And he starts thinking about this, about where and when and how. And he's like thinking about them like crammed in this like bathroom stall together. Really going at it. Like really going at it. Azriel freaking moaning out loud and making it awkward for other people who try to go into the bathroom. Like, he has this really vivid, these really vivid scenes in his head, and Azriel's just like, you really are stupid. That's like the least thing for romantic. That sounds absolutely horrible. Why don't I go introduce you to the shower rooms, and we can go have fun there. We could go make some new memories there. How about that? So Azriel has this little plan in his head. So the best course of action is to get Burger Pants out of there as quickly as possible, and then go run off and do their thing. Pretty much leaving Ember and Noelle there for a little while to fend for themselves. Oh well, matters of the heart and mind come first, right? So Azriel takes off like this soggy ass shirt, and he's trying his best to like fashion it around Burger Pants, and Burger Pants is like clinging onto him for dear life, like his arms wrapped around his neck, trying not to fall over while Azriel kind of has him in this embrace, trying to tie the shirt around him so that it covers everything, and it's an extremely awkward situation, especially since especially because of what they just did. Like, Burger Pants is thinking this is like an extreme turn off. Like, an extreme turn off. Burger Pants is so mortified. And that was just from putting the thing on him. That's not even from when Burger Pants is like trying to walk out onto shore. And all the water that was trapped in this shirt is like pouring out, and it looks like a big diaper, and not only did Noelle and Ember notice him, but also Azriel's laughing at him, and Burger Pants is like super humiliated and mortified, and he wishes that he could just go dive back in the ocean and drown, because then at least people would be thinking about how he had to be rescued, instead of thinking about him with this big ass diaper dripping. Oh god. Anyway. Burger Pants is absolutely mortified, but Azriel kind of saves him. Azriel goes to get his jacket and wraps it around Burger Pants, and it doesn't look quite as bad, and he kind of explains the situation to Des and Noelle, and he explains the actual situation. Burger Pants really wanted Azriel to make up a different excuse, but no. Azriel is just like, yeah, he lost his bathing suit, and now we gotta go get him a new one. Also, I'm gonna buy us a bunch of snacks and drinks. We'll be back in a little while, y'all. Don't worry about us. We'll come back eventually. And so they're like walking back, but Burger Pants is kind of experienced what Azriel cursed him for earlier. Like the heat of the sun is like bearing down on him, and there's like jellyfish and broken glass everywhere, and he's trying to sidestep all that shit. And the sand is extremely hot, and it's burning his feet. And he's like, "Damn, I can't wait till we go home. I've had my fun, but the beach kind of sucks." But Azriel's on the other foot, and he's like super elated. He's had like a blast. He's had the time of his life, and he's walking, and he realizes that he doesn't even have his sandals, and he can feel the sand like sinking in between his toes, and he kind of just like stands there for a moment and just lets it happen. He's like wiggling his toes, and he's like, actually, this isn't so bad. This really isn't such a bad thing to happen. And it's all because of my partner, because I wouldn't have even done this if it wasn't for him. He's the whole reason that I'm out here. He's the whole reason that I'm having the time of my life right now. And if it wasn't for him and his positive thinking, I never even would have thought that I would possibly like the feel of sand between my toes, standing here on the beach. And that's how it's gonna be from then on. Just as long as he has Burger Pants by his side, no matter what comes up, just as long as he has that guy's support, they can make it through. They can really make it through. And so the two go off and they do their thing. And they go home and they have that talk, and Burger Pants gets a little frustrated. And eventually, Burger Pants doesn't leave this story unsatisfied, right? He doesn't leave his story unsatisfied at all. He definitely gets to hear that voice that he really wanted to hear very much. So that's pretty much, I think that's pretty much everything I can say about this little sidetrack of a fic. Anyone who read it, thank you very much for indulging me and for reading this thing. I hope that somebody out there got something from this. It was fun to write. It was only a day of writing. It wasn't that much. It wasn't that hard. I just went through it, and bam, it was done. And not having to edit it or polish it. Oh, that was a blessing, because that was one of the more grueling things, is going back and editing and polish, and yeah, without that, this is fine. This is fine. I like this. This was good. This was a good experience. So thank you so much for anybody who listened, anybody who watched. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that we have this thing out in the world, and I can torture you all with my stupid brain rot. Thank you so much, and bye-bye!